when you get to pay into all these protection fees.
All set? So we're gonna open our Board of Selectmen meeting, September 30th, 2019, at about 6:30, maybe 1. Can we please stand and pledge allegiance? Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we don't have anyone for public comment. I don't know who did the warrant last time.
Doesn't matter.
Can you do it, Bill?
I certainly can. Motion to approve payroll warrant 20-13, in the amount of $168,872.64.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Motion to approve bill warrant 20-13, in the amount of $470,341.75, which breaks down as follows. Town, $41,886.38. Water sewer, $12,219.25. Payroll withholding, $32,754.10. Light bills, $333,037.73. Grants and revolving, $50,002.30. And capital, a whopping $441.99.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, moving on, we have to approve the minutes from the August 19th, 2019 meeting.
They look to be in order, and I'll move for passage.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yep.
We have the minutes from the September 3rd, 2019 meeting.
Yeah, those also appear to be in order, and I'll move for passage.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, we have an appointment of Joseph Santapaula to the position of the interim fire chief through November 30th, 2019. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve Joseph Santapaula to the position of interim fire chief through November 30th, 2019.
Can I get a
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. We,
You're still
We
on
have a-
board, right? Still on board with it?
I'm still on board.
Thank you very much.
we have an appointment of James Bogiagis.
Very good.
Do you wanna come up? Of 47 Star Road, Groveland, to the planning board until the next annual, election, May 4th, 2020. At the time, there will be an election to fill the remaining term, vacant due to resignation. Well, thank you for stepping up to the plate, number one. I don't know if any of the board members wanna say anything, or any questions or anything?
May I start?
Sure.
So when I had a conversation with Jim, I'm just gonna put it out there, he wanted to volunteer for whatever board he could. He actually volunteered for several. I told him, let's start with one and see how it goes. I told him we had a dire need on the planning board as they're short members, so he offered to step up in that role to start, so.
All good.
I'm good.
Everyone
Let's get
else all
more
set?
people like that.
So, thank you for stepping up, and
Glad to do it, looking forward to it.
Obviously, you've heard about the Volunteer of the Month reward we give around here, and you want to be first in line.
I did. That's exactly correct.
Awesome.
Volunteer for many, he's already got the award, right?
We
It's a
love
lot
it.
of stuff.
Yeah. You give me the Emmy and the Oscar.
Well, thank you very much for
Very,
stepping
very
up.
welcome. Thank you. I look forward to it.
Great, thanks for
Thank you.
coming in.
I'll make a motion that we appoint him to the planning board till the next election, May 4th, 2020.
Second,
Seconded?
any further discussion? All in favor?
Yep.
Okay,
Bill, may I just, so Jim, if you could go right across to the town clerk and be sworn in, so you could attend the meeting tomorrow evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is how we do it in Groveland.
We move
Okay.
fast.
He's aware of that, by the way.
appointment of Barbara Bylow of 25 Moody Street, Haverhill, as a reserve dispatch lockup keeper for a probationary period effective October 1st, 2019 through March 2020. Barbara here?
No.
Okay. So can I get a motion?
I'll move for passage, appoint Barbara Bylow, reserve dispatcher, lockup keeper for period October 1st 2019 to March 1st, 2020.
Second,
Seconded.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Yeah.
Whoop, go ahead.
Obviously, it's recommended by Chief Gillen, so that's great. Is there the March 1st, 2020, is there somehow, do we have a reminder on our calendars to make sure we don't go past missed dates, go past probationary periods, just in case is there some kind of
That would be
tickler?
up to the chief if he wants to submit her name for reappointment. Or,
It's not.
that's why it's a probationary period, so it would be up to him to recommend reappointment at that time.
At that time? Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, everyone all set? All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Public hearing we're too early for?
Yeah.
So we have discussion and possible vote. We have Matt Castaway to recap the 2019 summer camp. I see Matt.
You thought you were gonna have a lot of time, huh?
We work expeditiously around here. No wasted motions.
Thank you.
Denise warned us we had a long agenda, so we're trying to be really good for her. Extra good behaviors. Oh.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Matt Castongway, the Planning Director for the Groveland Summer Rec Program. And I just have a brief summary for you this evening to recap this past summer. Again, another very, very successful program for us at the Bagnell School. As you can see on the sheet here, we had 161 campers join us this summer in total. We had 28 CITs. Our registration fees totaled $136,980.84 this year. As you can see, we have the comparative numbers from 2018. We had 22 total staff members, including a planning director and on-site director, 2 assistant on-site directors. We had 3 senior staff this year who were in charge of our front desk. We had our arts and crafts instructor and project enrichment instructor. We had 14 counselors, so we have groups in grades 1 through 7, and we have 2 counselors to lead each group. We had 1 custodian. We had 9 total field trips, always the highlight of the program, and we're happy to have 9 this year throughout our 7 weeks. And just some terrific feedback we got from local parents. The program was awesome. This was our first and certainly not the last year with the program. The kids had so much fun, and best of all, came home wiped, LOL. Thank you for running such a great program. Just a note from a pretty happy mom with the experiences our boys enjoyed at the camp this summer. After the first week, my oldest son told me I should have signed them up for all of the sessions. Great field trip, staff camper ratio, organized pickup, at least some time outside, fun days all around. The camp came recommended by other moms, and I'm so glad we signed them up. Thanks for keeping my kids entertained and safe and doing a great job. It was worth the drive. And one more, I just wanted to take the time to say thank you for such a great camp experience for my kids. This was our first year trying the rec program. We did 3 weeks and they both loved it. I love that every day is a little different, so it gave them something new to look forward to, and they of course loved all of the great field trips. So we continued just to get such terrific feedback from the parents of the kids who attend our program, and just kudos to Brianna Favor, who's our on-site director, and Cam Wolbach and Carolyn Modlish, who are our on-site assistant directors, for just, again, doing an outstanding job this year, taking the lead with the counselors and with all the staff, really. And a shout out to the counselors themselves, as they are the ones who work the closest with the kids. So if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be getting, such positive feedback. So another successful summer, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Anyone? Go ahead.
I don't really have any questions. More to the parents' comments. You run a great program. My niece is in it. She loves it. All the
Great.
kids that I talk to love it. All the parents love it. It's an outstanding program, so keep going.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, from a parent that sent at least two through the program. It is fantastic. It's really a great help to the parents for the summer at a very reasonable cost. What do you attribute the lack of membership or registrations in 18 compared to 19?
They fluctuate a little bit every year. If you were to go back to 2017, you would see that those numbers were pretty equal to this year. So 2017 numbers were equal to this year. Last year, we had a little bit of a spike. And then even if you look back to 2016, those numbers were even less than they were this year. So, you know, we were 31 less or 31 fewer campers this year. That's kind of, again, if you look in our history, that's kind of in the same kind of wavelength as we fluctuate each year.
Yeah, moms talk to each other. I expect your numbers to go up next year. How's the space issue at the Bagnell? You're all settled now. You've got the space you need. There's no issues anymore with the...
Yeah, no, they were great this year. They needed to use the smaller gym for storage this summer because of the ongoing work that was being done there, but they gave us a couple classrooms extra this year to compensate for that lost space, so we were great.
Excellent. And just want to thank you for doing a great job year after year, and I hope it continues for many years to come.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All set, Ed?
Yeah, I'm all set. Another successful program, and it went well.
Thank you.
Kathy?
It's a great program. I think you've done a great job building it, so keep it going.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
All right.
My question to you is gonna be, hopefully we come up with some positive numbers to invest back in and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I know Denise can attest a little bit more to that, but because, you know, our numbers were a little less this year, we didn't have as much left over as we generally like. We did invest this year into replacing a lot of the old equipment and old game tables, and also we needed to buy a brand new slide this year, a water slide, which we get the commercial grade, so that's quite costly. So that added to about $20,000 this year.
Okay, well, thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, so moving on, we have Dr. Justin Bartholomew, Superintendent of Schools, to update everyone on the school building project.
Good evening, everybody. How are we doing? All right, good. So I heard you had a tour of Bagnell?
Yes.
Everything was all right?
It's the best school in the district.
I don't disagree. It's tough to be an alum from there and say anything different. Yeah, I mean, so first, I think Ms. Pateri and Mr. Day have said this repeatedly, but thank you so much for investing in that school and taking care of those capital projects there. I mean, it's huge to be able to have those classrooms open and available to us. That's a big commitment on the part of the town, so thank you for that. So my purpose for coming tonight, and I have Mr. Dorr in the back there, and he's the architect, so he might start talking a little bit about this. If you ask a question, I can't quite nail it down, the technical parts. But I wanted to just update, because when we left here in May, there was an overwhelming majority vote in favor of the building project. It's kind of been quiet since then. And I know Denise has been at the building committee meetings. It's been a little slow. We have these minutes going on, but there's a lot of work that's going on behind the scenes. So I felt like it was just important to keep everybody informed of where we are, because we're actually right now at a pretty critical time period. We're about to have a lot of things take place. So just a few slides here to go through and just show you this. This is going to cover, just tonight, we're going to cover the process, just a visual of where our journey has gone, where we're heading with a time chart. The sustainability, just demonstrating how we've looked at it. All aspects of this have been analyzed to the nth degree. The design, where we are, and the total site, which you've seen a few times. So let's go ahead and look at that schedule and process. And if you take a look, this is where we were. So back in September of 2017, you've heard me tell the story before. This process started in 2015. It started with the application and getting us to where the point where we've got a statement of interest submitted. So in September, when that happened, we start going through and we had these vision sessions, people are giving input, and that's how you get a general concept of what the building itself is going to be. We, at the point of this year, walked all the way up, we're up to number 4, and that's where this past year, in April and then in May, the towns voted to fund the project. So, since then, funding has been one of the biggest issues. Does anybody up on the panel, do any of the selectmen remember? Denise definitely does. What percentage was I going around talking about?
4.
Good. So we started off at 4, and then we reevaluated. We're talking about non-callable bonds. We actually, 275 is what we were conservatively going for. We were very fortunate. We, Mr. LeBrecq, myself, testified by with the Mass Oversight, Finance Oversight Committee. Because of all the Pentucket towns, their business managers were able to give us all the information we needed. And based on that meeting, they granted us their bond rate, the state of Massachusetts bond rate. So when we put this out to bond, we were not just Pentucket, but we were being endorsed by the state. So we had incredibly good bond rating. So we were actually able to pull a rate of 2.62, which is very good. Now, we can't borrow all the money at that point. We can only borrow what we can spend in 18 months. So we borrowed $50 million. But we didn't have to borrow $50 million because in addition to getting 2.62, the market is so competitive, we actually got $3.25 million back as a premium. So the town, Pentucket's actually only borrowing $46.75 million, which, so we, on the interest rate and on that premium, on that chunk of money, saved a good amount to the taxpayer. So that's one of the big parts. But while we're doing all that, Mr. Dorr and his crew, they're going through and they're designing. When we voted in May, there wasn't a all the schematics weren't done, all the details weren't done. It was a concept that we were voting on. We knew about what we wanted the building to look like. There was a lot of good detail, but there was nothing that was definitive. So all the meanwhile, we've been having back and forth these meetings about what should be included, what shouldn't be included. They're having to go out and look at everything from, okay, what's the water flow going to be coming off of Farm Lane to how's the sun going to come into these windows and how do you keep the heat balanced inside the building itself. So we're coming up, and you can see that red line right there. We're coming up at a time where I know Brad likes to say, this is pencils down. And pencils down means they're stopping. And they're going to have 2 estimators. They're going to come in, and they're going to independently, they're going to go ahead and say, okay, based on everything we've done, and we'll be at about 50% complete, based on everything we've done so far, how much is this project going to cost? And the other estimator will do the exact same thing. And they'll come back together and they'll reconcile those numbers. And what we're going to have to do is look at that and say, okay, that's more expensive than what we are approved. And I want to be very clear on this. We are not allowed to go above the $146.3 million mark. That is not permitted. The MSBA will not allow that. So if it comes in, and the building itself, I think, is about $118 million. So if it comes in at $121 million, we have to cut $3 million of nice things out of the project, things we don't need, but things that would be nice. If it comes in at $115 million, then we either have saved $3 million or we can look and say, okay, well, here are some things we were talking about doing, and we can add those in. Our guess is we're going to come in over because the construction business is white hot right now. But we'll see. We've been pretty conservative, and we do have some buffers built in. So that's where we are. You can see May of 2020, the bidding. That's when the actual bidding is going to be done because you'll be at 100% completion. But you'll see there's another date of January 2020. So the early release packages, that's going to be all the steel, the infrastructure of those buildings. That can go out for bid, and we know that's going to be a huge chunk of money. We know tariffs coming out of China. All of that has to play out. So it might very well be a very unusual situation where we're actually using American steel on a building because it might very well be cheaper. So you can see that's going to be the first part. So someone asked me earlier, when are we going to break ground? So we're targeting April is when we're targeting to break ground on the project. In the meantime, you'll see we were able to work with the state and Groveland to all that, as the 113 is being done right now, all the way down to the bridge, all that aggregate that's coming off is being dumped onto the baseball field behind the high school, because we're going to use that as a temporary, to create the temporary parking lot in the front. Saves taxpayers money, and it'll save the building project a whole bunch of money, because we won't have to truck in any material for the front there for the temporary parking. So once we get started, you're looking at about 3 years. August 2023 is when we look to be opening, and August 22 is when we look to be, and then it'll be 1 year later is when we hope to have the fields done. So that's the timeline and overview. So the sustainability, a lot of questions came up when we were doing this whole thing about what will we have. This is going to be a LEED building, LEED certified building. So you have to meet certain standards. And here's just an example. Yeah, the graphic's not showing up there. If you could see this, you'd see every bit of water use. This is just a sheet on water flow and what we're going to use inside the building to measure so it doesn't matter if it's a water chiller, if it's a toilet, if it's a water fountain, every little bit of what's going to be used is taken into consideration. And the same thing, people ask, well, it's not going to be solar powered. Well, we're solar ready. But I think for us, we looked at that and said, it's kind of foolish for us to go ahead and put on solar panels if someone would pay to put solar panels on our roof and defray our costs that way. Plus, you don't know how technology is going to change, but it's not out of the question. Again, if we're at 115, those are projects we can look at. We could add those things later on. Okay. And this is kind of a score sheet here. It's not kind of a score sheet. So for LEED, this is a sheet that shows all the different points that we can get. Right now, we are on target to get LEED silver. There's a possibility, based on the possible points that's down circled, that we could end up with LEED gold. But we know for certain it will definitively be LEED certified. So if we get half of those maybes, it'd be a LEED gold building. But for us, yes, we want it to be. We want to be very conscious, making sure we meet all the sustainable parts of the project. But we also know there's a point where we get 2 points back from the state on the grant, and we don't get any additional. So if we pay more money and get to gold, that's great, but we've just paid more money to get to gold. If there's an educational component to it, that's fabulous, but we are not in the business of wasting taxpayer money just to hit a tier and put it on this sheet. All right, the design. Now, these next few slides are the most intriguing to me. Let's hope they show up well on here. So these are the sheets, the detail, the level of detail that all the architectural firms are working on right now. And there are hundreds and hundreds of these sheets for the building project. That is just, what was that? We're just looking at one single, not even, yeah, okay, great, what he said. It's an interior elevation. But if we go to the next slide, you'll see this is just a steel. So this is what you'll see, what do we think, by next fall, Brad? By the end of, about a year from now, this is what it'll look like out on that field in the back where the football field was. All that steel will be up. It's kind of neat to see that infrastructure piece on the bottom. You get the top view and the bottom view. And if we go to the next slide, because you're just adding this in, but you have to take into account where you're going to put all the units, the air handlers, the HVAC. So that's where you start to see all these pieces put in. And of course, you got steel going in. Once the steel's in, you're not drilling holes in steel. So we have to carefully place. So I know Dora Whittier's done an excellent job of making sure they take us through this step by step. And not only to make sure things are in the correct spots, but making sure once walls are up, we're able to locate where these are and access files to show us where these pipes are running and where the wires are running. So here's some pictures. This is what the dining commons is going to look like. You're looking at this, so the northeast part of this slide right there, that goes to the outside of the building. If you're coming the other way, so you'll see it'll be all glass, and then you'll go straight into the auditorium. Go to the next slide. And this is that same picture if you're looking from the outside going into the building. This is what you'll see. So you have stairs up there on the right. It's a walkway on the top. And all down there is dining commons. There's also dining commons upstairs. I don't know, I think about walking through Pentucket now, and I look at that, and you just don't think it's possible, but it's impressive anyway. It's very impressive. Oh,
That's an awesome picture.
that is a great picture of a broken image. These are just, try another one. Try the next one there, Mia. Go ahead, Bill, what are you gonna?
It is a nice view. The artist rendition of the library is stunning, though.
Trust me, it is much further along than that. And this is just the back space. On the left-hand side, you have art rooms. On the right-hand side, there's alternative PE, but that's the back entrance. And students can be out there at lunch or nice days or whatever they need. But again, it's just it's amazing to think that this is actually going to happen. I mean, you go around and you talk about this, it's a concept, but as it's developed over time, it's becoming more and more reality each day. Here's a different view of the library. So this is coming up those steps that were in the back, and now you can see into the media center. The media center is interesting. We went through a lot of different renditions of what we wanted that to look like because you want it accessible to the public. But in this instance, we actually, if you go on to the next slide. Yeah, so these couple of classrooms here, you can see it's a physics room on the left, and I believe that's the, what is that on the right? Is that the? Yeah, just a typical, oh, there you go, a typical classroom on the right. But these are spaces that are going to be, you'll see everything has wheels on it. Because the overall theme is we don't know. There's no way I can stand here and tell you that 25 years from now we're going to be doing education online. We have no way of knowing. But what we do know are all of our classrooms, they're going to be, you can move them around, you can shift them, you can adjust. And the technology that we'll have in there will fit that approach. So again, this is kind of the site. You've seen this before. The stadium that's on the bottom part of that image, that is where the current middle school is. So that won't exist until everyone is moved into that new building. And then we'll start doing the fields. Anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
What happened to the one with the library that we're trying to make the
the bridge.
Bridge, yeah, how did that turn out?
Yeah, so we're going to take that to the building committee for a final review. In the working group, we looked at it and just fell on, there's too much divisiveness. It draws the attention, so we just fell on, just leave it, what did we just said, black and, yeah, go back a few slides there, please, Mia. Keep going. Is it not going anymore? Hold on a second.
It's frozen.
Technology is great, isn't it?
Could be the connection.
So on the very back there, one of the ideas was to have kind of the bridge, the steel of the bridge to help provide support. But you're looking at the front windows, but at the further back windows, little media center. And so we decided to just go with this for the time being. And if the building committee wants to change it, that's fine. Initially, I was very much in favor of the green steel. I thought that looked great, and then you started to look at it a little bit like, the only thing you look at is the green steel when you walk by that window. But again, to just be able to have the option, I'm happy. So if it's that, if it's the other one, it doesn't matter to me. It's a good question, though. That's a good question.
On that slide, can you explain those lights, those lighting fixtures?
Yeah, so the lighting actually hasn't been definitively done at all. Like we know we're gonna have LEDs that are gonna be up on the ceiling. That right now is just a concept that hasn't been finalized at all.
What's that?
Brad, can you give him a microphone, or do you want to go to the podium?
Do you want one of these?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So what you've got going on there is you've got some lights where you can see the really bright white, but then all of the other things, which is probably making it a little bit more confusing for you, all of those kind of long that look like slats, those are actually all sound baffling. So the lights are going to be kind of tucked in between the sound baffles, so that's what's going on there. And then we're also trying to conceal some piping that's going on up on the bottom of the roof deck.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Any other questions? So in the meantime, the plan is, I'll come here every so often. It used to be that the three Pentucket towns had, two towns had it on a meeting on one night, and the other one was the opposite. Now, everyone has theirs on the same night. So me making my rounds has become every other month. But I'll try to keep you posted every so often. I know Denise is now getting the notes, and from time to time, when she can, she'll actually show up at the working group meeting, which I think is just going to be awesome because you talk to her all the time, so she'll be able to fill you in on anything that's going on. I'd love to be able to do that. It's just hard to get here when the other two towns are at the same time. But if you ever have any questions, just know, I think you all do. Just call me and we'll happy to talk.
Everyone all set?
Yeah, I mean,
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
I know Denise and I make about every meeting, and then,
Yeah.
during our selectmen's time, we usually talk about what happened at the last meeting, try to keep people as informed as
Right, yeah.
possible on all this
Yep.
goings-on.
I appreciate you guys being there too. It's good to have that, have the voices there.
I appreciate you coming in with the pictures, because that's worth 1,000 words.
It helps.
Yeah.
It definitely helps.
Definitely helps.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank
Okay, so moving on with our schedule, we still have some time. We have the cable contract continued discussion. So, I know in our last meeting, we were gonna ask the chair to come in to see if he had any of an update for us.
Good evening.
Thank you.
My name is Tracy Guilford, current chair of the Cable TV Advisory Board. I apologize, I wasn't at the last meeting. I wasn't aware that I was on the agenda. I've been kind of busy with work.
Just, you were not on the agenda. They were talking amongst themselves at the last
Oh,
meeting.
okay. I
So,
was told by somebody I was on the agenda, and
No.
somebody was mad I wasn't here, and I was gonna say, well, I'm sorry, I don't always look at the agendas.
no, I would invite you if you were on it.
Okay, and I did get the invitation for tonight's. We have met recently and finalized a online survey, which will go out on SurveyMonkey. I'll have to be talking with Denise to find out how we pay for that. I sent Denise a request to find out what is available. I anticipate us doing our public hearing the first week in November. Denise, did you get my email?
I did actually wanted to wait till the board had this conversation tonight.
And I wanted to find out what's available. That way I can contact Bill Hewig, our attorney, and Comcast to coordinate with them. But first, I needed to know what nights were available that week for this room, because anticipating that meeting, we do basically need 100 people, to show up for that meeting in order to have a good bargaining position. So what would the board like to?
Okay, well, I guess we can start, if anyone wants to start asking questions. Kathy, are you good right now?
There's a few things that, and I know you're a volunteer, so I don't mean to, I don't really even know if you should have the advisory committee doing all of this work, because you're volunteers, and you do our recording, and you manage the schedule for all that, and that's a lot of work right there. But I couldn't help but notice, like, in our payroll warrant, that we paid to have the, Chris he was paid to review the cable contract, which I thought was unusual use of his time, and I wasn't quite sure
Okay,
why that happened.
I wasn't aware of that.
Okay.
I never
I
see
wasn't-
the
yeah.
warrants about,
Be honest, I sometimes come in here and I know that we can look through them. I don't always look through them, but tonight we got here early because we've been at the Bagnell, so I thought, oh, it's a good time to look through the pile of
Yeah.
warrants, because I like to do it every so often. I'm a little numbers geek myself.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and then, and I'm not trying to put this on you at all, I'm just saying, it seems to me that there's a lot of work to be done, and I'm concerned about it, like, when I look through what Bill Hewig has sent to us, and it's some really great ideas, and some examples of budgets, and you and I spoke about
Right.
the
and I
fact that
think
there really isn't a budget
I
for
think that's a
bargaining
really good
purposes.
idea for us to
Yes.
go forward with that in the future, is have a budget, have it as a town report item, so people know what money is coming in and how the money is spent. It
Right.
should be like any other town organization.
Right, I mean, do you have, at least over the last few years, do you have any summary of what we spent the money on? 'Cause
No,
I
because
certainly- Okay,
the way it was set up years ago, and again, this is going back 10 years, when we hired Chris, I was told by the finance director and the board of selectmen that it was going to be the finance director and the board, Chris, who was going to
okay,
take care of that. Having said that, I don't mind seeing change, because change is good.
right,
I like your idea of having a budget, because like any other organization, you should be able to see the money coming in, and
Yeah.
you should be able to show every penny that was spent and how it was spent, whether it was salary, whether it was equipment, whether it was repairs. Like I say.
right,
I
and
think-
there's like a lot of good ideas in here from other towns, such as, they had to tie into a community theater group, a tie-in maybe to the new high school. Police department, was involved in some purchases.
Yep.
I mean, the more parts of our community we can get involved, I would think the stronger our bargaining position, not to lose out
Yep.
on potential revenue.
And that will be
Yeah.
up to us to excite the people to come to that meeting, because it traditionally, if I remember right, from 10 years ago, I think we had like maybe 20, 30 people, and maybe like 5 people spoke.
Right.
So, for the people who are watching home, when we schedule that ascertainment hearing, it is critical for the town of Groveland to have the 100 people show up for that and speak, especially those people who feel, like, I'm not one to go on Facebook that often when people are complaining, but I have noticed on Town Crier that when people have outages, that they're complaining on Town Crier, and yet I've encouraged people, it's like submit, keep a documentation that I had an outage on this date. It was corrected 1 week, 24 hours. Without that kind of information, we don't have something to lay before Comcast and say, look, we had 100 complaints. It's funny, some people will complain, but they won't put that in writing, and that's what I need to do our job better. I need people who have felt they have been wronged to document, say, I, Joe Smith, or Susie Chapstick, felt that my service was substandard, because that's what gives you the better bargaining. Knowing people that, if you only have 2 people in the room saying that they felt they were wronged or they didn't get their service properly, Comcast will say, 2 people out of 5,000, that's, it happens.
Right, I mean, the main part of the bargaining, I think, from the town's perspective, other than good, reliable service, absolutely, is if we want to bargain for this cable access money that we've historically gotten, I believe we need to put together a budget like a month ago. I mean, we need to get it done. So anybody that would have I mean, would Chris have a summary of what he's spent money on the past 3 years? Does he keep anything, any record
Well,
of it?
I would defer, I'm sure Denise has copies of everything
I don't know.
that was spent, because it's paid out of the town.
I don't know that that kind of detailed record gets to the town level. I'm not sure of that.
No, I mean, it does. A lot of times I'll just get a request, though, that says, we need this purchase order for this amount of money. I don't know how many microphones and things like that at times, but I can give you a printout of everything that, all revenue in and all expenses out of the cable account.
Right, and we don't know, like, the room, I know you use the room, that small room over at the police department, if that is performing well, if that needs to be updated.
No, we just updated that, I want to say just a couple of years ago.
Okay, so my point is, in order to bargain not to get the money cut, we have to have needs for it.
Yeah,
So we have to come up with a budget
okay.
with needs. And I guess, I don't know how to convey, does Chris doesn't, you don't give Chris his marching orders?
Well, I haven't, like I said, the way it had been set up, was,
Yeah.
I was told, that the finance director and Chris were the people that operated it. If this board wishes that to change and wishes to task the board with seeing, I mean, like I say, I think a first good step would be to start a budget, and so that the cable would be like no other department in this town, that every month, the selectmen or anyone in town could say, hey, we'd like to see public information the month of, October 2019. What was spent on salaries? What was spent on equipment? How are you spending our money?
Right.
I think that's a good first step.
Okay,
I really do.
so we shouldn't expect anybody who's working for the cable to be reviewing the contract, though? There's nobody asked,
Yeah,
we didn't ask that
Like
of
I
them.
say, I didn't ask Chris
Okay.
to
I
submit.
did not ask him.
Okay,
You know-
so that's taken
But,
care of, okay.
Having said that, if you wish me to look at
Well, I
his-
just wasn't
his-
sure why it happened. I guess
his
I was,
time sheet to see what he's, I'd like to know,
okay, yeah.
if we're partially responsible for that.
Can I ask just one question? So are you aware that Chris reached out directly to Bill Hewig at our town council?
No, I was not.
So there are some emails that he's reached out for, which I don't think are appropriate either. I think that should
Okay.
go through you.
Okay.
And town council feels the same way, that
Yeah, and.
they
and-
shouldn't be responding
And
to
I agree
Chris's
too.
requests.
It he shouldn't do it without either your authorization, my authorization, or the chairperson of the board is my feeling. I definitely concur.
I feel like somebody must have suggested it to him, but it didn't come from our last meeting, so,
And it didn't come from me.
okay,
Is that Kathy?
yes, I am.
Yeah, give me one sec. So Tracy,
Yep.
if
Yes,
you
sir.
can remember, and it's been some time ago.
Yep.
But if you can remember, back when I was a chair last time,
Mm-hmm.
we asked to get a job title for Chris. We asked, he doesn't have, we went through this whole big thing about getting a job title, what's his job, blah, blah, blah. It never got resolved. And,
Job title or job
Description,
description? Okay,
yeah.
when you say job title.
Well, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, because he has a
job
job
description,
title.
it was never, the board was gonna take care of it, it never really got taken care of. And furthermore, for him to be going and calling town council and for him to be doing,
Yeah.
you're the chair of the board.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kinda running rogue.
Like I say,
It-
I
but-
apologize.
I know,
I
I
was
get
not
it, but
aware
I
of
don't
that.
believe the board, me personally,
Yep.
I don't believe the board's doing their job. If this guy's running rogue and the board doesn't know what's going on, there's misconnections
Yeah.
someplace. And that's all I'm saying. And I'll let the rest of these guys talk, but
Mm-hmm.
I was the one here last meeting, you weren't here, and I'm the one that said I wanted to have you guys come in because
Yep.
personally, this thing is down to the wire. In my eyes, I know we're talking about November, we're down to the wire here. We need to get this thing done for the town of Groveland people. We need to get it negotiated. We need to get it negotiated right. My point is, let's say we want to, like I was making a suggestion, can we do it, the money, not over a 10-year period? Can we space it out so much every 3 years, whatever. These are all questions that we wanna have our input ultimately, but I don't wanna make this to the point where it's last minute, we can't get our information in, and it has to be done. So that's all I'm trying to do. And that's what we're trying to do, this board, I think, has been trying to do all along, is get this process going, so everyone can have their input on this, and we can have enough time to get it done right.
Yep. Well, I've notified the board that we will be meeting weekly,
Okay.
and I will report to either you or Denise or both of you as far as what's going on. Like I say, the ascertainment hearing is critical, and the public participation. Like I say, if we fail to get 100 people to show up, then it's going to reflect on this board. My board, not you.
Right.
It'll be a failure on my part. And like I said, if we don't have at least 100 people show up, then Comcast will look at it, and it's like, you just don't have anyone who cares,
Right.
so you have no bargaining position.
Right.
None.
Go ahead, Mike.
I think it was last December, last January, February timeframe that I talked with the Haverhill Cable Committee. Because I was talking to them about trying to find a way to get a competition in town.
Yep.
And they had told me that they were near the tail end of their negotiations with Comcast, and he gave me some timelines, which I thought I relayed in a meeting, where we needed to be and the timelines we needed to be on, and we were nowhere near that. And clearly, by the paperwork, we're still nowhere near that, which is very concerning, because this is a big deal for the town.
Yep.
And when you were talking about position of negotiations and being able to ask people what their complaints are, going on the crier and reading the complaints and what people's alternatives are, the sad truth is there aren't any alternatives, right? That's the argument in town, is that it's a monopoly by Comcast in town because there is no other option.
Well,
Wait.
Yep, sorry.
There is no other option, right? If you want internet, your options are Comcast or DSL.
DSL.
And that is it. And there's no comparison, right? DSL is slow and it's old technology. Not only is there a monopoly by Comcast in town with the cable and the internet and their triple play package, whatever that is.
Yep.
The other problem is that nobody's paying the same rates, right?
Right.
The package that I have with Comcast, I have the 1 gig package for internet. I got rid of everything else because I can't stand Comcast, right? I'm sick of arguing with them over their packages that they increase every 6 month or year or 2-year contracts.
Yep.
I'm tired of the service going out. I'm tired of the glitches, so I just went with internet. Now, the price that I pay for that 1 gig speed is not the same price that someone down the street pays for it, or someone on the other side of Groveland pays for it, or their triple play is different with the package that they're paying, which is the same package as somebody else on the other side of town, but the rates are different. That's what people are frustrated with. They're frustrated with the inconsistency on the package pricing, the inconsistency on the service, and their inability to get any negotiations because Comcast doesn't care. They're the only game in town. If you want TV, you get Comcast or DirecTV, and that, or Dish Networks or something, and that is it. There's no Fios, there's no AT&T, there's nothing else. And that's why people are upset with the whole situation of what they can do or what they feel their voice is, because they feel they can't have any voice.
Yep.
And that's what I feel like. Sometimes I'll call Comcast and just yell at that person because I'm so frustrated with them.
Yep.
Right? That's not the way life should be. You should not be worried about getting on the phone every 6 months with Comcast to yell at them because their service is bad.
Yep.
Or their packages are bad. Or my rate's going up $80 for what? Nothing. Because they know that that's what we're gonna charge you.
Right, 'cause they're
That
only
is the
game in
very
town.
definition of monopoly. And I have had enough of it. I spent a lot of time trying to get a way to get Verizon to come to town.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, once they're done with Boston, they're not doing anything else.
Yep.
So that's out. So what do we do?
I don't know, I agree with you. I'm frustrated too, to know that they're in Boxford.
Yep,
No, they're in Georgetown.
West Newbury.
No, they're in West Newbury, and yet they refuse to go to Groveland or Haverhill.
Yep.
I don't know why, because they have been invited. We have spoken to representative of them, I can't remember, a few years ago, and they said they had no intention on going to Groveland until they did Haverhill. I contact Haverhill Community Television, Darlene Beals, like once a year, say, because they would know whether or not Havel was gonna be done. I asked her, any movement? None.
No, because they're not doing any other towns until they're done with Boston. And even at that point, it's gonna be 5 years, and maybe they'll do something else. And from my perspective, Comcast knows that, so they don't care.
Yep.
Our position is very weak at this point.
And I'll be honest with you, I will be one of the people that I will excuse myself from chair for that meeting to lodge a complaint as a Groveland resident, because during one of the storms last year, I went without cable for 3 weeks when one of my neighbor's tree limbs came down. And I'm sure after reporting it, they came down, looked, oh, tree limb, we're not going to touch it until the tree limb's out of the way. My neighbor took care of it like a couple weeks later, and then it still took a week, and that didn't bother me as much as fighting with them to, okay, I went without cable for 3 weeks. My bill should be appropriately
Should reflect
adjusted.
that, right.
I had to argue with them.
Of course you
They're
did.
like, you pay it, and then we'll credit you the following month. It's like, no. I didn't get service this month. I want my bill adjusted, or I'm gonna delete my service.
But they don't
And-
care.
Well, they did. When I went to pay my bill, they credited me my 3 weeks of no service.
What I'm saying is that because we're behind the 8 ball with this negotiation, that puts us in quite the pickle, right? Because we have very little negotiating power, and they know they got us.
Well-
So, whether or not we can get 100 people to a meeting,
Yeah.
I think if you actually reached out on that Facebook page that you're talking about, I think you'd get a lot of people concerned with not only the rates and the pricing and the structure of the contract, but they want to have their voice heard, just like I voiced mine tonight,
Yep.
saying this is ridiculous that we're going through this.
Yep.
Waiting to the last minute to hold a hearing is not gonna help that. That has to be done like now.
Yep.
Because we're running out of time. We got, 5 weeks, 6 weeks before this is due? We're nowhere near where we should be.
Nope.
Yep,
Bill.
go ahead.
So,
I- let-
Edwin, go ahead.
No,
Let Kathy
Hey.
go, I can wait.
okay, go ahead, Kathy.
Well, just on the heels of what Mike said, I forgot about our fun cable story is that it goes up, the price goes up, it always goes up. So I figured out, okay, I unhooked everything, put it in a trash bag, brought it down there, dropped it off. Done with this. And of course, came home, my husband was not thrilled with me. We had no cable. So we got by for a little bit without it, and then go back, got a cheaper price.
Right,
I don't know why.
because now you're a new customer.
You're
Right, I'm a new customer now all of a sudden. All of a sudden, I'm getting all these discounts, and I'm like, why is it that way? Why do you have to
Why wouldn't they just
unhook
give
everything,
everyone?
put it in a bag and dump, and there's a lot of people in that office dumping off equipment. So my thought is, you may not get 100 people in this room, but if you open up online a place for people to tell you their story,
Yeah, well,
they will read different stories and they will remember, we've all been there probably, and have a story to share, and those stories can become part of our.
our bargaining, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
But that's what, going forward, too, it'll be up to our board to encourage people on a monthly basis. Rather than, I know this sounds far off, but if we can get people to more consistently lodge their complaints when they have the problem, because instead of waiting until the new contract, because then we have a binder like this instead of a binder like that.
But I
of-
did complain, to Comcast, they don't want to
Right.
hear it.
But
know,
your complaint to
So
them.
that's why I unplugged everything.
Your complaint to them, if I had a little note, to the Groveland Board, Cable TV
Oh.
Advisory Board, just to let you know, I, Kathy Castellanos, and my
Yeah.
family have chosen to discontinue Comcast on such and such a date.
Yeah.
Again, you have.
I just didn't think of it.
Hey, you have aggravated your customers, and I tell you, I'm paying like $94 for no premium channels, just regular TV.
Yeah,
And I remember used to paying $45, and I had HBO. And it's like they're pricing it out for the average person. Because when I look at it and I see my yearly cable bill going to be the price of a month of my mortgage, that tells to me they're out of touch, is my feeling.
Right,
Okay, I'm gonna let Ed,
go ahead.
Yeah, just quickly, it's very frustrating to, you can't force competition. And that's one of the complaints that we hear all the time is Comcast is holding it over our head, that we don't have any competition. And it was probably over a year ago, there was a man here from Verizon, he happened to be here on the wrong night for a selectmen's meeting. He had to do with a joint pole location with our electric company, and he was from Verizon. And I asked him about how do we get Verizon to come into Groveland? And he said, look, he says, I live just over the line in Bradford. He says, I can't get it in Bradford. He says, and they're not gonna do Groveland until they do Bradford. And so, not only are we frustrated, but like this man was frustrated. But I had brought up before to the Cable TV Advisory Board about trying to do something through our own municipal electric company. As other towns that have a municipal electric company they have done. And there was one of the members of the board, I had asked them, how is it that these municipal electric companies can offer a higher speed internet access than Comcast? And he explained it, a small group and the power, et cetera. But I know it would be a big expense, but personally, I'd rather be paying the money to the Groveland Electric Company than to Comcast for both cable and for internet access. And I know you had looked into what it would cost to wire up the whole town, and it was something fantastic. But that is an option, and I just wish that we could try to convince the electric company to do that. I know they, at one point, they didn't have any interest. I don't remember why, but I think we need to present that again.
I think part of it, they would have to substantially increase, their employees. And, the town's cost initially to cable everything would be very high.
Substantial.
And I'd like to see see that presented to them and come up with a cost of what it would cost. Obviously, you'd be increasing employees, but you'd also be another revenue source. And the way that I read the contract is that if, you can read it two ways. I read it that if some other outfit comes in and offers a different package, that Comcast has the chance to meet that. But then there's another way to look at it, that if you read the contract a different way, you'd say, well, if competition comes in, they have to meet what Comcast is paying now. It's just a matter of
Yeah,
interpretation.
it's called level playing
Yeah,
field.
yeah.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
okay. Tracy, I'm gonna have to put on hold for a minute, because I have a hearing for 7:30.
Yes, sir.
We're a little bit early still, so what we'll do for the next couple of minutes is we'll do the correspondence. We have correspondence from the Electric Light Commission, September 10th, 2019 meeting. We have an email from Dawn Greeny regarding the water and sewer fees. We have the minutes from the September 23rd, 2019 special meeting workshop. We have the minutes from the September 16th, 2019 meeting, and we have notification of our free cash approval. I think we have another minute, don't we, still?
But you can start at least inviting them.
Okay, all right, so,
You can read the background on it.
all right, so we are gonna have a liquor license transfer process hearing. It's gonna be an open public hearing with a roll call vote that will take place at 7:30, which I think we're almost there, and read the following public hearing notice aloud. So,
It's 7:30.
7:30.
Yep.
So, the Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Monday, September 3rd, 30th, 2019, at 7:30 PM at the Town Hall, 183 Main Street, Groveland, Mass, on an application to transfer of an off-premise package store. All alcohol license from the Groveland Market and Liquor Inc., 1 Washington Street, Groveland, Mass, to Kunji LLC, dealing business as Groveland Liquors, 1 Washington Street, Groveland, Mass. Sutil Patel is the proposed manager. The description of the premise is 1 Washington Street, 1-floor building for sales and storage, approximately 1,751 square feet, front entrance and front exit. So we have to go into a roll call vote. So, open the meeting at 7:30, and, Selectman Wood?
So if
Yes.
someone can make a
Oh,
motion
sorry.
to just
Make a
open the
motion.
public hearing, please.
Motion to open the public hearing at 7:31.
Okay,
Second,
all in favor?
roll call.
Roll call. Okay, Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
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 Watson, and Ms. Castellanos?
Yes.
Okay, so, now we will ask the parties to come up.
Yeah, my name is Alpesh Patel and this is Swet Patel, and we buying the store Groveland Liquor. We have another store in Haverhill too, Bradford Liquor Store. So my wife gonna be manager, and I own the silver store I own the store in Methuen. I have a store in also in Tewksbury. So my family own the business, and my cousin is gonna work for us, and my wife gonna be there, and I'm also over there too.
Okay. Is that pretty much all you got to, for us?
Yeah, and we're gonna keep same building. We don't gonna change anything. Everything same as it is. Open hours same, closing
Okay.
hours same.
All right, is there anyone in the audience that has anything they wanna say? Okay. And the board, does the board have anything they want to ask from parties? Any board members?
Nope.
Everyone good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so the only thing I will say is you're gonna have the right personnel that will be qualified to run it and what have you, and know all the the parties coming in to check them.
Check the ID. and
Yeah,
everything.
ID and all that stuff.
Cause my cousin, he works still over there, in a Bradford Liquor. So he
Okay.
gonna manage the store. So we have the same. We almost own the 2
Okay.
years,
Yeah.
and we check the ID and everything, and we never sell anybody under minor at all.
Okay. All right, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone all set?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the transfer of an off-premise package store, all alcohol license from Groveland Market and Liquor Inc., 1 Washington Street, Groveland, Mass, to Kunji LLC, doing business as Groveland Liquors, 1 Washington Street, Groveland, Mass. The Sutil Patel is the proposed manager, subject to the approval of the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission in Boston. And,
I'll make the motion to approve.
okay, and roll call,
Seconded.
second and roll call vote. Ms. Castellanos?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
And Mr. Wood,
Yes.
okay? And now we have,
All set.
now we're gonna close the hearing at
Thank you.
7:34 maybe, it looked like.
Yeah.
Motion to close the hearing at 7:34.
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call. Mr. Wood?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Yes. Watson?
Yes.
And Ms. Castellanos?
Yes.
Okay. All right, now moving on.
If you can just start that down for
Do I have to
signatures.
sign?
You all have to sign that, please.
Okay.
So, Tracy, I guess we're back again. Sorry about that. Okay, so we continue on with the cable contract discussion. I know you were all done, you guys, up this end? Okay, Mr. O'Neill, go ahead.
Thank you, Selectmen. Done. My questions, I'm not gonna moan and groan about prices and things. We all have those issues. My questions are going to more be specific to this. The Survey Monkey you were talking about, is that the complete survey, on the timeline A here? Do you have the latest email from Bill Hewig?
No, I do not, sir.
No, so that was Bill Hewitt recapping the notes and what he met with the Cable TV Advisory Board with in April. So he had sent me all of his notes and the timeline he had provided to them at the time.
So the monkey survey, maybe you can answer, the monkey survey he's talking about, is that synonymous with the complete survey A that we see in the timeline?
I believe so. So that's one of the requirements. And
So
so I believe that is item A.
technically, you're 4 months behind that requirement. When were you planning on having the public hearing?
I was looking for the first week in November, sir.
The first week in November, and the license expires on the fourth week in November. And if you don't get 100 people to there, what does that mean? You cannot have a meeting?
No, you have a meeting, it just, from Comcast's position, if you don't have people who care enough to show up, it means that they basically have you, it means no one cares, If we have 100 people, or ideally more show up, it means people in the town care enough to, stand up and be counted. I know it's a monopoly, but they still look to see how many people participate.
Right. Regardless of that, I'm worried about the timeline again.
Okay.
We're past the 11th hour, I think, the
Then-
11th hour and 59th minute
Yep.
here. I know a lot of folks thought, back at the beginning of the year, I might have been picking on the Cable Advisory Board, but it didn't seem then, and I don't seem now, that there's any sense of urgency on your board's behalf to get any of this done. When was your last meeting?
Last week, sir.
And before that, when was it?
It had been a while due to people's schedules, kind of like when you guys were looking at getting your board together to talk about the fire chief's position. Everyone, like, I'm not available this day, I'm not available, I'm away for business.
Right,
And,
and we added people to your board to kind of
Yep.
help that out.
yep,
And that didn't really help, I guess.
it didn't for a while, sir, no.
Have you seen the Comcast contract proposal? to you?
Yes, I have, sir.
And what do you think of it?
I agree with what some other people have said, that, I'd like to see more money than what they're offering us.
Have you tendered them your counter proposal to their?
No, have not. I would probably say, to you that we will contact Bill Hewig to see if it's still reasonable or whether we should ask for a contract extension to finish what we need to do. And
Well, right now, I question your ability to get it done.
okay,
The board seems to be, and I know, you're all volunteers.
Yep.
I have volunteered for a lot of stuff over my life, but I seldom volunteer for anything that I'm not willing to do and to take up, and sometimes it's not easy work.
Yep.
Sometimes it's very difficult work. But I make the judgment to take on the task and to dive into the pool and to roll up my sleeves and get it done. And whether I get thanked or not, it's irrelevant. There was a task that needed to be done, volunteers were needed, and when you volunteer, my expectations of all volunteers, like the expectations of myself when I volunteer, is I get whatever it was done. I get it done on time. I get it done without a lot of this, prodding and prodding and pleading and begging. Because obviously it's an important task or you wouldn't need volunteers to do it. there's timeline after timeline after timeline that's been missed here. And we had this meeting on April 3rd, and he met with the Cable Advisory Board on April 9th. We still haven't completed any of the tasks for June, August, September 15th has gone by. Start negotiations with Comcast on October 15th, and you're nowhere close. This is my fear, that it seems that your board has dropped the ball in so many words. And now I don't know, I don't have a lot of faith that you're gonna be able to pick it up and carry it across the goal line for the citizens of this town in an expeditious way. And to not even have a counter proposal to their absurd, ridiculous proposal, just baffles me, astounds me at this point in time. And even to suggest that we get the same money as we did the last contract astounds me. When was $100,000 in 2019 the equivalent of $100,000 in 2009? It's, you know, some rough research tells me it's the equivalent of about $125,000
Right,
in
but
today's money.
Mr. O'Neill, when you also do a little more research, the whole field is changing. I mean, I know at least one person, you know, in town that cut the cable, does everything on his cell phone, watches television on his cell phone. He says, I will never get any cable company or dish or DirecTV. It's like, you know what, I have unlimited data. I watch everything. I have another friend who streams everything. You know, they use their phone to their laptop hotspot. So they watch everything on their laptop. They don't care about a large screen TV.
You're right, and that's
So-
great, but what does that mean
so
to my 78-year-old mother sitting at home that doesn't have any of this stuff, that relies on watching her favorite shows on cable every day? What does
Right.
that mean to her? It doesn't mean anything.
What
This
that-
contract means everything to her, because if she doesn't have the contract and doesn't have cable,
Yeah.
and she can't watch her favorite shows, then it's a problem to more than her. It's a problem to me, it's a problem to my family, because now she's gonna be calling us, right?
Yep.
And saying, I can't get my favorite shows, what happened to the contract? So, you know, I can understand your problem, I can understand the price goes up, I can understand all these issues. What does that have to do with the successful negotiating of a contract that you're so far behind right now? Anything?
Well, like I say, if you want to go back, and I'm not looking, you know, I will say, part of it, I will accept responsibility for not getting after my board members. And part of it was mine. You know, I had a coworker leave, and when you work in a business with 3 people and you're down to 2 and you have to do the same work, I had to keep my job. So I had to work a lot.
And I get it, and I
And-
get it. At
and-
that point, did you raise your hand to anybody and say, hey, I'm having some problems with the Cable Advisory Board? Is there anybody else in town willing to step up?
No.
Help, maybe get another member, maybe, you know,
If-
the old
if you
saying,
wanna-
many hands
Yep.
lead to light work, right?
Yep, yep.
So the more members you can get, it helps you out. It helps your board out. It helps the negotiations out. It helps us out. It's a good thing for everybody. And it's not, I'm not looking to be critical
Yeah,
to say,
and-
ask for help. We all need to ask for help at times. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. We all need it.
Yeah.
It's nothing to be ashamed about.
Yeah.
And if we don't know, if I specifically don't know that someone needs help,
Mm-hmm.
it's impossible for me to understand what kind of help to give them, or even know that they need help.
Yeah.
You know, I am the type of person to roll up my sleeves and get involved. And if I had known that you have this kind of problem,
Yeah.
I would have volunteered my little time I have left in my life to get on to see that this got done in an expeditious manner.
Yeah.
So I'm just,
Well, I'll say
I'm
part of it.
disappointed.
Okay. And,
Can I talk?
yep.
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry.
Excuse me, I'm the chair, just give me a minute. Okay. Tracy,
Yes, sir.
okay. So, you had the comment saying that if you don't get 100 people in the room, we're not gonna have a good negotiation point with them. They're gonna basically look at us and say, they don't care. My point is, if you have a board that hasn't done their work and hasn't done it on time, they're gonna turn around and say the same thing. That board doesn't care, hasn't done their work, and you know something, the hell with it, you know what I mean? That's just me, and like Bill said and everyone else, I understand, we're all volunteers, you know what I mean? It's not like this just came about right now, you know what I mean? We're up against it at this point, we're up against it. You know what I mean? The point is, I'm asking, the point is, do you think, now you know what your workload is, you've talked about your workload, do you think you can carry this to the gate, or would you rather sit there and say, hey, guys, I need help carrying this to the gate?
I would like to
Go ahead.
give me the 2 weeks to, contact Bill Hewig, contact Catherine from Comcast, and see where we stand. And if in 2 weeks you decide to, do whatever, but,
Well, I don't know if I really, I'd go next meeting,
yeah, well,
next
that's
meeting,
2
that's 2 weeks,
weeks.
that's it.
2 weeks,
Um,
let me see, and let me touch base with the, and
Well,
talk.
that's just, we have a board here, I don't know what the board wants to do, I'm just
That's
saying.
what the board,
We had a gentleman that raised his hand in the audience, I don't know, if you wanna say
he's a
something?
member of the cable
Okay,
advisory
if you can
board.
keep it,
Just to give you a little background information, a lot of the contracts that are coming up to terminus.
name.
Oh,
I'm
sorry,
sorry,
Rob
name.
Carbone, Cable Advisory Board,
Thank you.
Groveland. So basically, the government deregulated the FCC, and that was a decision that held up a lot of these contracts over the entire summer. So no one was hearing anything from any cable company over the summer. Whether you had Spectrum, Charter, Comcast, Verizon, Time Warner, you name them, across the country, no one was going anywhere because they wanted to see what the federal government was going to do. So the federal government has deregulated the cable industry, essentially. So now, what we face is kind of like the cable companies having, free say in the matter. They don't have to necessarily go by all the rules. However, in our state, we have like a limit of 5% instead of 3.75% that right now Comcast is offering. That's one thing we should go for. And for the, what'd you guys come up with, like $67,000 over the course of 10 years was there, 0.25%? No, you should go for a nice big lump sum number. These are things I've dealt with in the past, my past dealings with Comcast and Verizon through contract negotiations over the past now 20 years in this industry. So right now, though, no one was doing anything over the summer. So you could have asked all day long for a new contract. They wouldn't have given it to you because they were waiting to see what the federal government was going to say. So that's kind of the holdup as well. It's not just on our end. Because trust me, I deal with this on a day-to-day basis. I deal with all the legislation that governs this, and I have to be made aware of it because that's the nature of my job as an executive director. So that's kind of where that was.
Can I ask
Question?
you- Yes, very quickly. So just because they weren't negotiating during the summer, does that mean we don't continue to do our work in preparation of when they do want to negotiate?
Well,
I
for
mean,
what it's worth,
Medicare
did you
for
ask
all
me
may
what
come
work
down
I did?
apart. Do I cut my health insurance tomorrow thinking I get Medicare for all next week?
No, not at all. But like I said, I just told you two of the talking points we're going to go for. You guys mentioned last meeting how you're only going to get $67,000 when last time around you got $100,000. I've already started working on those points. You want 3.75%? No, you want 5%. You want $100,000 from them? No, you want $150,000 from them. You got to start that. You got to aim high, and you got to go for it. Because if you want your money, you want the contract. And besides that, this contract isn't just about the money, like you were talking about your mother. You want to make sure that in that contract there's language to protect the consumer, so that now that things are deregulated, that the words in that contract still hold true, that they have to cover you for the first 100 or 150 feet from the pole to your house. You want to make sure that if there's an outage, that they come and show up and actually fix the outage. That's the importance of this contract. It's not just about money. It's not a cash grab. This is a service to the community. And that's what you have to be made aware of. It's more than just money and a dollar sign.
And can I just say something?
Sure.
You just said to us, do you know what I did? I don't know what you did.
Yeah, I'm telling you now.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
relax a little bit,
Yeah.
relax. I don't know, because the committee hasn't told us. We've had meetings, this is not the first meeting on this, and thank you for all the work you've done, I appreciate it. I'm not being wise when I say that, it sounds like you know your business, and when we appointed you before, you definitely sound like you knew. I just want to be able to sit there as this board and get this thing over the hurdle. If
Oh,
you
yeah.
can make us all feel good that this is going fine, everything's great, perfect, maybe there's something that's not being said, but as far as we know, we have a timeline, nothing's
Yep.
been met, and that's what we're going off of.
Right.
Okay, so understand our point.
Oh, I totally understand it. But also on our point, I mean, Tracy held a public hearing. He's tried to gather as much information as he can. I've done with what I know, my own knowledge of having to deal with this, having just finished 2 negotiations the past calendar year. So, you know, we're doing our best with what we have.
Rob, could you just enlighten the board on your expertise? You know, I know you're the executive director. You just enlighten the board again on your expertise and how you've dealt with this before.
Oh, I mean, I know this, every negotiation is going to come down to the wire. That's how they drag their feet so we sweat. Don't let them make you sweat. Just, let's have a unified front. Let's come up with what we need from both the technical end of things, the financial end of things, and just the customer service end of things. Let's make sure we have something in place so when the lawyer comes back and, oh, Comcast wants, you know, only 3.75% and, you know, 0.25% of our gross annual revenue, and that's about it. No, we want to make sure that people are being taken care of, our community is being taken care of, and we're getting the best possible product for everyone around. You know, it's like a hurry up and wait situation, because you sit there and you run as fast as you can to get this, all your paperwork done and into them, and then they have 30 days on their shot clock. And on day 29, that's when you find out from them. Because they want you to sweat. They want you to sweat. They want you to cave. Don't let them make you cave. Don't accept the bottom. Don't go for the bottom line. Go a little bit higher up, you know? I think that's probably our best bet. I just think that, oh, you may not immediately see a result right now as of today, especially it being the summer, and us coming back out of the summer and everything kind of being held up with this whole FCC issue. We have been working on this. We have been trying to get all our ducks in a row. And it's a matter of like going line by line through that contract, figuring out that section 6.2 agrees with section 6.3, or section 10.4 that references section 6.2 later on in the document. You want to make sure all those pieces are in play. You don't want to not dot an I or cross a T, because if you do, that's the loophole they're going to use against you. So you really got to do your due diligence. I mean, I've read through the contract. I read through it this morning, just so I know if I came here today, if like there was a question, I can give you some form of an answer. So, I mean, that's what we're trying to do. And the good thing is that all these contracts are public records. So if you go on the state's website, on the Department of Telecommunications and Energy, you can see what West Newbury has, Boxford has, Georgetown has. You can see all our peers and what our neighbors have and what they're getting from the cable company. So when someone tells a lawyer, hey, well, we're only going to give you X amount of dollars and X amount of percent, like, no, that's not what Boxford got. That's not what West Newbury got. That's not what Georgetown got. And we deserve the same, because we're all paying into the kitty. And they'll say, oh, well, it's going to raise the franchise fees. They're going to raise those franchise fees anyways. They've been doing it since day one. And that's the thing. They'll still collect that franchise fees whether they give it to us or not. It's just a franchise fee to them. And we don't want that to happen. We want to make sure something comes back to us and takes care of our town.
Kathy wanted to speak.
Yes, and thank you for all of your information.
Sure.
I have a significant concern that you haven't addressed.
Okay, what's
I
that?
mean, according to the records that we were given, the cable committee did not meet from November 2018 until most recently. And
No, they've had meetings.
Yeah,
There were
we
just
still
no
had
minutes
no
filed.
minutes, okay,
There
no
are
minutes.
filed.
So that's a violation. You have to have minutes. Secondly, the business plan. I would think before we go to before the public, for any kind of a hearing, we have to have a business plan, a plan that says, what are we gonna do with this money? I've only been on the board a few months, but I've asked to see the records of what has been done with this money. According to the contract, I believe there were supposed to be forms filled out. I've never seen them. I've asked for them. I've never seen them. So I don't know what the business plan was for the past 10 years. I have no way to know, and I have to put my name on this contract.
I know.
So, and I won't sign a contract that I don't know all about. And I don't know all about what's been going on with this contract. Tonight, it came to my attention, I think, of looking through the warrants that I signed, that perhaps we paid someone to look through the cable contract, but nobody here knows how this happened. And I'm not going to sign a contract that I don't understand what's been going on, where's the documentation, who's reading this contract. You know, I want to be able to trust the whole thing. So I feel very strongly that, as a member of this board, that we should get an extension on this contract right away, because we don't have the information that we should have. We should have a business plan. If you guys want to try and take a run at making that business plan, town council gave us examples, fine, but if you're not going to do it, then I think we have to pick that up and do that. We have to sign this contract. We
Correct.
need to have a business plan. We need to know what's been going on and what's going to go on the next 10 years. So that's my case. I mean, having been on the board since May, that's how I feel. The buck stops here. I have to sign this.
Right.
You're a nice guy. You seem to know a lot of things, but that doesn't give me the confidence to sign this contract. I need to see the business plan.
Sure.
Okay, so are you guys going to do this business plan? Show us what you did last 10 years and what we're going to do the next 10 years? Or do you want us to kind of take that off the plate? I could go either which way. I mean, we're all volunteers,
I'm
so,
going to defer to my chair at the moment, but
Okay.
for what it's worth, I'm only going with what I've known since the past year of being on this committee.
okay,
You know, I've looked at all this equipment, seen the age of it, seen what's over at the police station, seen the age of that, what needs to be addressed, and
okay,
realizing that this isn't stuff you go buy at Best Buy.
right,
This is stuff that costs tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars over the
Right.
term of its life. When you come up with a business plan, you don't just forecast for the present, you forecast for the future.
Right, that's what
And
I'm
we're
saying.
trying to make sure that what we're gonna put in place will last. The money we spend is spent wisely.
yes.
You don't wanna be pound foolish, especially with how little money we're gonna get
I know,
compared to.
so my question is,
Right.
well, you guys can have a meeting if you wish and get back to us, but my question is the business plan.
Right, well, this is all
Who-
stuff that goes
who's
into a
gonna
business
do it?
plan. You don't just say, hey, I'm gonna start a concrete company and then not have cement
I
trucks or anything
understand
like
what
that.
it,
You gotta make
no,
sure you get all
rest
these pieces in
assured, I've
place.
worked in the utility
Yeah, yeah.
industry for
Right.
for a long time, and I understand how it all works, cost of service studies, all that. I understand a business plan.
Sure.
I want your committee to let me know. If
Okay.
you're not gonna do it, then we'll take it on, we'll get it done. Okay, that's all I'm saying right now, and I do think we need an extension on this contract at this point. I just feel like for us, we're rushing into this helter-skelter right now, and we shouldn't be. Because I don't think we have this documentation.
Bill, may I just make one comment?
go ahead.
Just looking at the sample surveys, I think you need the survey results to then go into your business plan.
Yep, that's
So I
it.
think you need that part to be complete before you
Right. but
finish your business
Again,
plan.
we're this many months behind now. I'm just saying, myself, I feel like we need to see if we can get an extension, and then we just need to decide who's doing what tasks here. And just get this done.
Have you got a plan?
For,
I do not have a business plan.
Do you have a plan to get a business plan to do these steps yet? You know, you got 3 members here,
Right.
sitting here in the room.
Right.
I mean, do you guys have a plan? I mean,
we have the partial materials to make a business plan. Like I said, we've been trying to assess what we really need here and what really works and doesn't work. You know, I haven't seen any documentation for the past 10 years from this
Yeah.
cable stuff, and I really wish I could see that material, and I don't know how I can access that material. So that'd be a huge help to me.
Okay.
Like, if someone could actually tell me who to talk to and give me, Rob, go speak to person A, and I'll go to person A and say, hey, can I see the last 10, 15, 20 years? Can I see the last 2 sets of contracts? Can I see any of this material?
Okay.
That'd be a huge help to me, at least. At least to see
Yeah.
what,
See, I can't tell you what, you know, like I told you, the way it had been originally set up was the finance director and Chris, when they were hired,
I understand all
operated
that.
the system,
get it.
so I
get
can't
it.
tell you the last 10 years. I can pull out, you know, our approval of new equipment when Chris asked for new equipment, but I can't tell you, like, what month Charlie was paid, what month Chris was
I
paid,
d-
what,
is that
I cannot
that
give you that
right now,
information.
correct me if I'm wrong, is that information right now crucial to do this, what we need to get done?
it'd be
I don't
helpful.
know.
But having,
Is that crucial?
It's helpful, it's helpful. I wouldn't say
Yeah.
crucial, but helpful is definitely a good, better adjective.
But like I say, I agree with what Kathy said. It should have been like all along, but I was told by the Board of Selectmen at the time that this is not, and the finance director at the time, this is not your department. It's going to be run by finance director and Chris.
So we have
And-
to start fresh here.
And so it is going to be a fresh,
But are there any records I could review?
The only records, I mean, I can print you an accounting of it, but it's not gonna tell you what was purchased with it. It'll tell you the company.
Any and all documentation, old contracts, anything, does that exist here?
yeah,
That's my
well, the
question.
contract is on,
yeah, we have-
online.
Right, well, I
Right,
mean,
but I'm just saying stuff that's been done over the past 10 years, is it in a filing cabinet somewhere? Could we start there?
well, again, so when I came on board, I'm gonna contradict what Tracy just said. When I came on board, I was told it's the Cable TV Advisory Board. Chris doesn't come to me for purchases. He comes
Yeah,
and
well-
says, I was told we can buy this, and I put through a purchase order, but I'm not overseeing those purchases.
Right. The only thing we were responsible for was approving purchases.
Right, so I think that's everything that Chris, I mean, Chris, as long as Chris has been here, I don't even know how long Chris has worked here, but as long as he's worked here, and as long as I've been here, he comes to me and says, this is what we're buying. I don't have any say in that.
So are there any records I could review? That's my question.
Again, it doesn't come through me. It has not come through
But
this
is there-
town hall.
But is there anywhere in town hall where I could go into a file box, say, oh, this is what happened, May 1994
Yeah.
here relating to cable, oh, there's a big outlet.
I think I get where he's, the warrant to buy it. Yeah, I mean, he would have submitted probably a document to you, Tracy, and then they would have filled out a warrant, right? From the accountant, and then
But this is
Greg
more than
LeBrec would have
purchases. This
approved
is like-
it.
this
So
is
somewhere
like-
there's receipts for these things.
More than receipts, I'm saying just anything and everything cable-related in this town. Is there not a filing cabinet or a file somewhere in this building that has stuff from government relations at Comcast, any of the previous incarnations of Comcast, previous contracts?
We have all that.
Anything like that, any sort of
I-
like
I
documentation they
wouldn't
may have
make
given you,
that
hey, we've
guarantee,
installed
Kathy.
X amount of
Think we have the
poles
contract?
down this.
We have contracts, but again, those things don't come through me. So in 5 years, I haven't seen anything, other
So no one
than,
knows where they exist.
again, we had a cable TV advisory board, and we have a paid employee. I would speak to the paid employee that falls under that.
All right.
It does not come through me in my office. I don't see those
Okay,
documents.
I could speak to 25 years ago, when I was on the board for a term,
hold on.
I signed a contract.
Right.
Hold on a
Right, the
second.
contracts must be here, but.
Yeah,
Talk to the paid employee, I guess,
Okay.
okay?
All right, that works for me, as long as I have
That
a starting
information
point.
from the paid employee, is that gonna help get us to where we need to get right here?
Yes?
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta know where you were to find out where you're gonna be.
Okay.
You gotta start from the past and work your way
okay.
forward.
I know Bill wants to talk.
Yeah, I have a quick solution. Check the minutes of the meetings that
Oh.
you guys have had. They're public record.
Right.
If you took meetings and you did what was right, there's whole slew of minutes from the meetings that you can get an idea. But I want to get back to Selectman Watson's question about your expertise to tell everybody, and I mean no disrespect
No, it's fine.
by this.
That's fine.
But you answered the question by basically gave us, it was basically negotiation 101. It was everything you learned from the time you were able to talk and dealing with your parents. You shoot for hair and hoping that your parents gave you this. I mean, we all know that, so that negotiation ploy is really, everybody should have that
Right.
skill. What's your real area of expertise when it comes to cable, advisory board, communications, equipment, et cetera, et cetera?
I probably have a far greater grasp on how that equipment works beyond anyone in this room.
Great, could you expand upon that?
Certainly. Certainly. Do you know exactly what goes into running a cable system? I mean, do you truly grasp how many moving pieces there are in this, between us and the cable company, between here and probably what the head ends in Haverhill, where it beams back to and then comes back to the community, and all that, all the fiber optic cable in between? You have to really have a big grasp. This isn't just like, oh, I'm gonna turn on my TV and there's, the public access channel. Also where this stuff's going, I mean, a lot of this stuff's antiquated. We wanna make sure that if they're gonna run fiber optic or have fiber optic cables in this town, we wanna have something that can utilize that speed. So we want to make sure that if we speak to Comcast, not just like, oh yeah, just replace that doohickey with this doodad. No, you don't talk like that. You have to know what you're dealing with. You have to say, hey, I need a fiber optic encoder. I need to transmit from point A to point B. I want to INET drop at the police station, I want INET drop here, I want INET drop at the Bagnall, I want INET drop at the new Pentucket School. So that way we can go live from these venues and have access to having a meeting live on the cable TV channel.
So your
Like this-
expertise is you work in the cable industry?
I run a public access TV station, sir. I run a station that serves a community of 15,000 people south of here.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
That's your area of expertise.
Correct.
That's what we're trying
Correct.
to
I do
pin
the
down.
day-to-day, I do everything from payroll to editing videos and everything in between.
So you really know the nuts and bolts of how this all
Been
goes
doing it
together.
for 22 years as a professional.
Awesome. Terrific. That's what I wanted to understand.
There you go.
Appreciate it.
Yep. That's why why I asked the question about files, if you go to my office, or if you go to my storage unit, I have file boxes full of everything from when it was Rollins Cable back in the late 70s. And I can tell you exactly where there were drops made at the different buildings, what buildings were decommissioned by the town, then they had to move drops here, there, and this way, what equipment was dropped off, what equipment was removed. I have records of that. If you guys don't have records of that, that's kind of a huge hindrance to figuring out where you're gonna go from here, because you don't even know where you are.
You're right. Well, like I said, the minutes should help because anything that gets approved for expenditure, I would imagine, ends up in your meeting minutes that you voted to approve to spend funds on X, Y, and Z, correct?
Okay.
So that's a good place to
all right.
start. Would that be a fair?
Would the town
Yes?
clerk have that on file, or where would I look?
Yep, town clerk.
They're on our website.
Yeah, and
We'll have to.
Okay.
Can
I
I just
love that
ask,
office,
as the
too.
chairman
Great.
of the chairman of this,
Sure,
could you do me a favor,
what's that?
between me and you?
Sure.
Could you please help get this to where we need to go with your expertise, what you just explained to Bill? You have a lot of expertise. I think, you know, Tracy definitely does. I think the board members do to a certain point. But you do this for 25 years. You have the expertise. Please help us get to where we need to go.
That's what I'm here
We're
for.
here. If you need, go through the chair or whatever.
Yep,
He'll go to me, whatever, Denise, whatever. Let's just get this done.
yeah, of course.
Okay? That's what we're trying to head with it, and as you can tell, everyone's getting frustrated and
I know.
aggravated. It seems like you've explained, we've heard the whole thing about it's been put on hold and whatever, we heard all that. But, you know, now we're here trying to get it done, we're getting letters saying, we have certain timelines we have to meet. You
Correct.
don't seem like it's a big deal to you, and I'm not being wise when I say that, I'm
I've
not.
been through this
I
about
got
4 or
it,
5
I
times
got it,
already,
I
so-
clearly got what you're saying. You don't seem like it's a big deal, I do, because I'm looking at a piece of paper, and I'm trying to protect the town people. I don't know what you know. You know, don't worry about it, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't know that.
Right.
I'm here to protect the town people, I've been voted for the people, I wanna make sure this contract gets done on the timeline it needs to get done.
Well, I'm one of those town people.
I got you.
You
So
know
I'm
what I
just
mean? I'm
asking
here
if
to
you
serve
can,
my town, I'm here to
please
try to
help
get
us
what's
get
best
this-
for us. Yeah, of course.
all right,
All
no
right.
problem.
No worries.
Thank you. Does everyone else have anything else they need?
Yes.
Okay,
Can we get a status in our next meeting?
yes, they said it already.
Yes, sir.
They said it, so do you have that?
Yeah, but I need a question, because in order to have the legal public hearing, it needs to be advertised. So are you all good to have the public hearing in November? Because he would have to advertise the week of our next meeting.
I don't, are we
It has to
looking
be
for a public
advertised in the
hearing?
newspaper for
He
2
has to have a
consecutive
public
weeks.
hearing. They have to have a public hearing.
I thought they were gonna come in the next meeting and update us.
Yes, but we
Don't
need
we-
to have a
Update-
public
we'll have an
hearing
update For
advertised.
you, but
Right.
if you don't have the public hearing's a key piece, but
Right.
if we can get all the other key pieces around that key piece, then I think we'll be all
Right.
right.
So when do you wanna have the public hearing?
They
I would
wanted it the
say-
first week in November.
Before November. if we
I was gonna
could.
say before November too, the
Before
sooner
the
the
end of
better.
October.
The sooner the better. Well, that's a long time. We got the whole month of October. Can't we get one done before then, in the month of October?
Well, what about the survey? When are you doing that?
We gotta do the survey.
As a suggestion, well, we have a meeting scheduled for October 28th. Could we do a hearing at that time?
At your meeting?
No, because actually, I'm gonna defer until I can contact Bill Hewig to find out his availability, and Kathy Maloney from Comcast to find out her availability.
Okay.
Because it all revolves around, if either one of those two people are unavailable, then we can't do a
Okay.
public
So
hearing.
could you please get that done sooner than later and get back to us?
Okay.
Me, Denise,
Yeah.
someone of us, get back to us and let us know as soon as you possibly can.
Yep,
Okay.
All right, thank
no
you.
worries.
Very
And
good.
again, thank you for your work. We're not
Of
here
course.
beating you up.
No, I know, I just,
We're up against it.
no, I know.
You know,
It's how it goes every contract. They
Right.
start 3 years ago, and all of a sudden, everyone's rear end's on fire the last 3 months, and then it just gets done.
Okay,
It sounds crazy, but that's just kinda is. Hurry up and wait, like I said.
all right,
That's how they make you sweat. Don't let them make you sweat.
thank you.
You're
Thank-
welcome.
Okay.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, so now we move on from the cable. We're moving on to the town manager, administration, continued discussion. And the first topic we were gonna talk about is what will the position be called?
Bill, may I ask a suggestion? So unfortunately, our meeting last week, the special meeting was not televised. I didn't know if someone on the board might want to give a few minutes recap so that the residents watching, it was a public meeting, it was advertised properly, but we did not have anyone show up to film the meeting. I think it might be helpful just to have a brief discussion so people at
Sure.
home are aware of what took place.
Does someone wanna have a brief update?
Well, we don't have any minutes from that meeting that we could.
They're in your packet. I did them.
I didn't,
They're under correspondence.
Correspondence.
correspond.
Well, I can do a brief update. We had a meeting, in our last meeting, was a public meeting. We're discussing the, possibility of having a town manager slash town administrator. In the conversation that we had, we discussed, pros and cons of this position. Denise had given us some, highlights of different things, that we could ask and different questions. We mulled it over for quite some time. At the end of the meeting, we discussed that in every one of our meetings going forward, would bring up 2 topics in each meeting and discuss it. And that's where we are. We did have a town vote, survey, and it was unanimous that the town people were in favor of having a town manager or a town administrator. And I think that's where I am, unless I'm missing something.
Yeah, I think you misquoted when
Yeah, I
you
think
say
you
it was
misquoted.
unanimous.
Oh,
I
well,
don't think it was
sorry.
unanimous, but it was
In favor.
much, over 50%, yes.
Right. Okay. Ed?
Yeah, no, that was it.
Okay, all right, sorry, I misspoke. In favor of. All right, so going forward, now, we're here for the 2 topics tonight, which are, what will the position be called? And maybe I should back up a step. Everyone watching needs to understand that this will go, if it does, and we do move this forward, it will go to the town people for town, approval.
Meeting.
Town meeting for approval,
Yes.
right. It's not something we're gonna be voting on and putting out there.
Correct.
Okay,
The-
go ahead.
Yeah, I guess, we discussed at our workshop meeting that, and I think it was Denise that kind of also had the history on it, that years ago, there was a difference between the title of town administrator and town manager, but that has subsequently changed. So perhaps years ago, people debated what to call it, and that's why the term town administrator was sometimes used instead of town manager. Or maybe the other way. I mean, to me, it's like, I think we should use whatever term makes it very clear what the position is, and that was easily understood. I don't want to have mumbo jumbo on this. I want it to be very clear, straightforward, easy. So what did the survey call it?
Manager slash administrator.
I knew you were going to say that. Killing me. Okay.
I think it should be called town manager, because in essence, that's what we're asking this person to do, to manage the day-to-day activities that come up in the normal course of business and in everyday life that cannot wait for potentially 2 weeks for this body to meet to discuss whatever it is that came up. So I think a manager is more apropos to what we really envision this role being and this person doing. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Anyone else?
No, I said that the last meeting too.
Okay.
Manager.
Anyone
I'm
else?
sorry, Mike, I couldn't hear you.
He agrees manager, he said.
Yeah, what Bill said.
I can't hear you.
What Bill said.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ed, you all set?
Well, I think they're synonymous, town manager, town administrator.
Okay. Kathy?
I think manager is easier to understand. Administrator sounds
Clerical.
more, yeah, it sounds complicated.
So I think we have the pretty much favor of the board for manager.
So I would recommend, if I may, that you vote on all of these items so that you can move forward and that it's done. And then we can piece it all together.
You want to write mine?
So I'll make a motion that we title it the new position, town manager.
Seconded.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, is it a new position, or should we say a potentially new?
Potentially, thank you. I
I don't think anything's written in
accept the
stone
friendly
at this point.
amendment. Potentially.
Okay. All set?
Yep.
All in favor for that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Start working on the job description. Anyone wanna take a crack at that?
I'll start. They should be the point person and the immediate supervisor for all department heads, seeing as we cannot be here 24/7 to account for attendance, account for behavior, account for a number of things that could only be accounted for by someone that does spend their entire day here.
Okay. Anyone else? Mike?
No, I mean, that pretty much covers everything, at least at a high level, right? The day-to-day operations is the stuff that we're missing because we're only meeting every 2 weeks. We have behavioral, time, human resource types objectives.
Right, so if person A, nobody can find person A, person A should be around somewhere, but nobody knows where person A is. This body only finds about it and can react to it, you know, a week, 2 weeks later, where that person should be immediate. This person is basically, person A is AWOL, I don't know where they are, they haven't called in, they haven't shown up for work, they're not responding to emails, texts, calls, and we're paying this person.
Okay.
So where are they?
Alright. Go ahead.
You want, okay, so I'm gonna just steal from, we have this pile of job descriptions. And, the town manager, just to be clear so people understand and watching, would eliminate the need for the financial director position. That being said, we would still need to, because we're, for two reasons. One, we're shorthanded in that department as it is. And two, because you still would need to separate, is it the treasurer position from, or which is it? The treasurer has to be separated from the.
Well, you need
fund?
a treasurer collector legally.
Right, we need a treasurer collector who's separate, okay, so that would have to happen, but, the town manager would be responsible for seeing that the budget is administered as adopted by the town meeting. The town manager would coordinate the activities amongst boards, commissions, and committees concerned with long-range municipal planning. Town manager would oversee the town's personnel system and staff in accordance with the town's bylaws, and should oversee personnel evaluation policies and practices, benefit programs, enforcement of labor contracts, labor relations, collective bargaining, state and federal equal opportunity law compliance, and such other human resource obligations as designated by the Board of Selectmen. Town manager should keep the Board of Selectmen fully informed regarding all departmental operations, fiscal affairs, general problems, and administrative actions, and shall submit periodic reports to the Board of Selectmen. Town manager shall attend all Board of Selectmen meetings, all annual and special town meetings. So
Kathy, what town is that you're looking at?
I'm looking at.
It'd make it easier, wouldn't
Good
it?
one. Oh, this is West Newbury's I'm stealing from, but they're very
So-
similar. I read through a bunch of these. I was looking for the one about, that, and I'm gonna say it really badly now, because I can't find the paragraph, but the town manager would be, qualified and experienced enough to analyze data and present it to this board for decision-making purposes, so that we would make fully informed decisions to protect the town, to move the town forward, and to keep everything running smoothly. Town manager would also serve as public relations and communications officer for the town, keeping everybody informed, obviously, in town boards and committees. And shall develop and keep and annually update a full and complete inventory of property of the town, real and personal.
Yeah, hold on. Can I just say
yeah.
something real quick, Kathy?
Sure.
Should, to start working on a job description, I think what's gonna have to happen is if
Yeah.
we decide to have a town manager or a town, whatever, I guess we're gonna be calling it a manager.
Right.
Don't you think we would have to sit down at a work session to come up with a job description, our own job description, if we do that?
Well, yes, but we decided to do that in a half-hour segments at our meeting. That's what the decision of this
Right,
board
but what
was.
I'm saying, is it fair to try and do this tonight, is all I'm saying?
Well, I
Should we
don't
try to
know.
get this all done tonight? I mean,
Well, I'm trying to get an outline done.
Right.
We all have a pile of job descriptions. Pull out something from there and throw it on the list. And then we can always pair it. It's better to have too much than too little.
Right,
Right.
but in the sake of expediency, if I may, could we just direct Denise where to cut, copy, and paste from preceding notes? So that we don't have to read through every
I know. Well,
paragraph? And
I-
it might be
I
more
agree.
expeditious, and then we can all read it back at a later date when we have a more comprehensive draft to present.
but would you wanna have like 3 different towns to pick from?
Oh, yeah, I have a
You got a
pile.
bunch
Trying
of
to
them.
find
I
them.
was trying to find them
Was
all.
it the last meeting?
Ah.
We got a bunch of
I
them,
pulled
at the
it all out.
workshop.
Yeah,
I
so
pulled-
we
go
could
ahead, Ed.
just copy and
I pulled them
paste.
all out.
And I don't think we're anywhere as close to even coming up with a job description. I think what the board should do is to look over the job descriptions, write down what we all want to include in a job description, and then compare notes, and, some people might have something in there that others don't like, and so on. And I don't think we're anywhere as close to taking a vote on this at this point. This is just working on a job description, and it's not something that's gonna be taken in just a half an hour here at the meeting. We'll have to discuss it at a couple of meetings and go over it. So, I think that's the way to go, to look over them all, come up, add in what we think that should go into it, and then come back at a meeting and discuss each one of them.
I think it says on the
I think it's a good point.
agenda, it says start working on job description.
Yes, it does. That's what we agreed to.
Well, because if I may, when I had your working session meeting, I put pros and cons, what you wanted to see of this position, and you all told me that that was the job description. I think you need to discuss, whether it's tonight, whether it's at future meetings, whether it's reviewing it. There are still those same questions that I had on your last agenda. What type of authority do you want to have? What type of, even when it comes to personnel, there's different levels of authority. When you read the job descriptions, they're all going to be different. You guys need to figure out what you want to see here. And at some point, whether it's during a segment of your regular meeting or whether it's a workshop meeting, you need to have, you need to discuss this. So,
I thought that was why the key word here was start working on job description. We're not finalized, but we have to start somewhere, right?
Right.
So today looked like a good day to start.
Right, I thought that's what we were doing.
I
but-
think we are.
Okay. So, did I
We're all
do
in
something
agreement.
wrong here tonight? I'm just trying to.
No,
figure out-
no, I'm just
No.
saying, as
Just a little.
opposed to going through each, if you could maybe say, hey,
Oh, go through and
Denise,
just cut and
from,
paste? Okay.
from such and such a town, paragraph 3, 4, if we could copy, I'd like to see, that in there. And then maybe she can come up with, based on that, she can disseminate to us the paragraphs that you've indicated you'd like to see in there. It's almost a complete cut and copy
Right.
paste, right?
Yeah, well, of course. Why
And then-
reinvent the wheel? It's
Right,
already
and
been
then
done.
it'd be faster for all of us at the end
So-
of the day.
So
Right.
to start, what we can do then is next meeting, we can come in with what Kathy's reading the different towns, and Kathy will have her pieces she wants to put in, I can put my pieces in, and whatever, we'll discuss it.
Well,
Is
can
that
I-
what you're looking to try and do?
Well, can I cut and paste what I like and send it to Bill? But then he can't send it, he can't get anything from anybody else until the meeting, right? I could cut and paste and send to you, Bill, right?
Right,
I could do that.
right, no, but I think what Bill, am I correct
I'm
when I'm
trying to
saying they're
save
trying to get
time.
everyone to put their input in?
Yeah, I'm thinking,
I think
if
Bill
we all
wants-
sent it to Denise, because some of us, well, listen, some of us may touch upon the same paragraph.
Okay.
So now, she can root out the redundancies in what we do, so that we get one copy that doesn't have any repeating redundancies. It's just a straight out, unique item, as opposed to,
Is it,
you suggested on the 3rd page, Mike suggested on the 2nd, I went to the
Okay.
7th to put the same paragraph in. Now we're reading the
So-
same thing 7 times.
what I'm saying is, and I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news here, I'm not trying to be if you're feeding stuff through Denise, and ultimately down the road, this position becomes open, however it is that fair to Denise? The townspeople may say, hey, listen, she did all the work to put this all together, they were feeding stuff to her. I don't know.
Well, that's why I was feeding it to you.
Right, I don't know if we can do that. I mean, I don't know if that's gonna hurt her.
Well,
That's all I'm saying.
I
I don't know. I don't know if it's the
Why
right
don't we
thing
do
to
it to
do.
Caitlin then?
That's all I'm saying.
yeah,
Caitlin. Poor
I mean,
Caitlin.
I'm good with
She's
Word,
my
but
assistant treasurer collector. She has nothing to do with the Board of Selectmen.
What's that?
Just trying to help.
I'm good with Word.
You know
and
what I'm saying? I'm
it's
just not
copy and
trying to,
paste,
I'm
but I
not
don't
trying to
think-
throw a wrench in anything. I'm just trying to say that you could be setting her up for failure and that, you know, God forbid, it came out to the point where, you know, we need names and what have you. I don't want the town people saying, hey, listen, she was in this negotiation the whole entire time. This is a setup. I'm
Okay.
trying to protect us
So-
and her.
So the
That's all I'm
question is, Denise, is there someone in town that's qualified that knows Word well enough that we could send that project to? Huh?
I know Word.
I know Word too, but you see, here's the problem. It's going to be an open meeting law violation if we all start sending them to you.
Yep.
And you cut, copy, and paste. Am I not right? If we all communicate with him about this one subject,
We just sent him
email.
it.
No, you could just send it and he could compile it.
Well, I'm
as
not
long as there's
volunteering,
no-
I'm just saying I know Word.
Yeah, you are.
I
There's
know how to
no-
use Word.
No dialogue and
What's
you're
your
not
email
engaging in
address again?
discussion.
okay, then we got the solution. Mike seemed to volunteer to cut, copy, and paste all our
I got
recommendations.
nothing but time.
But hold on a second, hold on, could it be
I
simpler?
make a motion that,
Wait a minute, hold on, could it be simpler that we each bring in 2 towns that we like, and next meeting we talk about it?
Ah, we're gonna be back to this point again
Well,
then.
all right, then,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, we've got a bunch of town examples,
we got him.
to choose from.
Let's
some-
bring one
some
in.
Really good.
We have a pile.
But we can, it's an amalgamation of everything, and
So
we're not
if
beholden
we
to
send them all
anything.
down, let's just say if we send all of ours over to Mike, if we send them all over to
All
Mike.
our suggestions.
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
gonna happen? We're gonna come in the next meeting, we're
Gonna
gonna,
go to my
Mike's
email,
gonna,
stay there.
Mike's gonna turn around, is Mike gonna pick one of them? Or we're
No.
all gonna come in the next
No.
meeting?
No,
Right,
he puts them all together.
Yep.
If you
so
and
it's the
I,
same thing,
if
us
you and I
bringing them to the next
suggest,
meeting, same thing, isn't it?
but then we have it on one piece of paper, we
Yes.
Oh,
have
all
the
right, however you wanna
advantage
go
of
about it.
having, being able to peruse it
Yes.
prior to the meeting, so
Mm-hmm.
that we can make our notes, make our suggestions, say, yeah, I don't know who suggested this, but, you know, I don't like that, or, hey, why didn't somebody suggest that? It
Hey,
gives
why
us
don't,
some
why
more.
don't I just write it? I'll write the whole thing.
That would be really swell of you if you would do that.
Thank you, Mike. But we could,
Whatever.
if we want to, we could agree that we all say which town we took the piece from and the page and paragraph, so that anybody wants to look back, where'd you get this from? And if you made it up yourself, say, I made this up.
And footnote it, that's not a
Yep.
bad idea.
Yeah, yep, and just
Okay.
patch it together.
All right, well, that's simple enough.
So I make a motion that
We'll do
the
it.
board forward excerpts or, original copy to Selectman Wood, so that he may gather, eliminate redundancies, and present a unified copy to this board at the next meeting. Is that too quick for you?
No, I got nothing but time. I used to like you. I don't know that I do anymore.
I get a lot of that lately.
Here, Mike can have this extra candy bar, pass it down.
No, don't
He
tease.
earned it.
Does that sound like a? He wants the red lifesaver, which Bill.
Oh,
stole.
here you go.
Oh, it actually says you are awesome on it. That's-
See, there you go.
So-
You've got it.
So we got a motion,
So can I just clarify, will you be giving that to me the Thursday before your meeting?
Oh, so
I
now
can
I only
include
have,
it
what,
in the
11
packet?
days?
Well, they have just as many days to get it to you, so.
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
that
so-
morning. I'll
We'll
have
say
it to you.
sure.
I don't want to stress anybody out. I know how difficult life is. You've got children, I've got children, you've got a job, I've got a job. Sometimes they just aren't have enough hours in the day.
Well, I don't sleep,
So-
so that's.
He
solves
doesn't
that.
sleep.
Is it easy if we give you, if we do it in a month?
No, I'll do it.
2
By next
weeks?
meeting, yeah, fine.
You're the man.
So do you want a deadline of when they need to send it to you by?
Monday.
A week from tomorrow?
Yeah, that's fair.
So by October 8th, and you will get it to me by October 10th for inclusion in their packet.
Gotcha.
That sound good?
Sure.
And it has to be a Word document. That's what you want, right?
Right, it's easy to cut, copy, and paste it
Okay.
back.
Second it, Kathy.
Oh, second.
Second.
I'm like asleep over you.
It's okay.
sorry, we had a long
The
day
discussion.
today.
Yes, I just wanted to thank Mike Wood for actually taking this project on.
Sure.
I know a lot of people wouldn't have done this, so I appreciate
I'm
your.
not really sure I actually volunteered for it, but it was more
I
tongue in
appreciate
cheek, but
you-
it was
you
okay.
rolling up the sleeves and doing what needs to be done,
Sure.
so thank you.
Okay, so all in favor?
Abstain.
Don't blame
You're
you.
not gonna vote for yourself?
All right,
No.
so we got through that. Now we're moving on to the update on the fire chief search.
You
Was
know,
there any
Oh,
other?
sorry.
you missed one, the other under.
Oh,
town
other?
We don't have any other yet.
Yeah, we do. I
Well,
got some.
Go ahead.
Oh, you have other.
I had spoken originally, I wasn't in favor of this, and I still am not. And one of the reasons, additional cost. What are we gonna pay a town manager? And then we already heard that we're gonna need another employee, maybe, so we need another full-time employee, maybe a part-time employee. And they mentioned at our last meeting, the towns that I looked at that had a town manager, some of them have an assistant town manager. Rowley, for instance, had 2 assistants and an administrative assistant to the Board of Selectmen. I think the only one that I could find that didn't have a administrative assistant to the Board of Selectmen, I think it was West Newbury, but I don't remember that. But, you know, we're talking about the new school taxes are going up. So we're looking at a town manager, the cost is gonna go up. Not only the cost for the town manager, but the additional employees. And, you know, where is it going to end? And I think that, in my opinion, a town meeting vote isn't going to cut it. We need to bring this to hear from all the registered voters at a ballot question at a town election. We've all been to town meetings in the past where you might get 100 voters in town would be able to vote on this change to a town manager. This is an important change to our town and the way the town government works, the way we operate town government. We should be hearing from more than just 100 voters. This should be a ballot question put before all the voters so that all the voters, will get a chance to weigh in on this. And as an example, sometimes we get a lot of senior citizens, a lot of the older people that aren't physically able or unable to get to a town meeting. They should be able to be heard. And I think by just doing it at a town meeting vote, we're shutting up and not listening to all the people. And I think we need to get as many people to vote on this as possible. The only way to do that is at a ballot box at a town election.
So you're saying every other town meeting where we took votes is invalid because of the number of people that showed up and voted on certain agenda items? That's what you're saying?
I did not say that. I said
That's
this
what
is
you're
a.
implying. You're implying that every other meeting we had in town meeting is invalid because only the 100 people that show up to vote have dictated what happened at the town meeting. Now you're saying that that's invalid and you want to have these other ballot questions done prior to town meeting because you don't like this topic.
Well, you're putting words into my mouth, and what I said is that this is an important decision on the way town government works, a change in
meeting's
town
important.
government, and more than 100 people or 120, whatever you get at a town meeting, should be able to weigh in on this. And I'm not saying that it's invalidating every vote that takes a town meeting, but this is an important change in the way our town government works, and we should be able to hear from all the voters, not just the ones that are physically unable to get to a town meeting. There's no way at a town meeting that you can do an absentee vote. The only way to get a representative of the way the townspeople feel is a ballot question at a town election.
Okay. I will agree, I will agree with Ed on that one. I do believe that let the people all talk. I mean, I definitely think that isn't a bad thing, to let everyone talk and let everyone vote on an important subject, so. Does someone else have their hand up? Go ahead, Kathy.
Thank you. Couple of things. I agree with getting the most input we can possibly get, whether through forums or ballot questions or surveys or things like that. This is not a new topic. It's been discussed within committee when we've changed different parts of town government. And our town is set up specifically with certain bylaws and the way we run things, whether you like it or not. A town meeting of 200 people votes our operating budget. They decide. They decided that we're gonna have a full-time town planner. They decided that we were gonna have the strong fire chief law. They decided that we were going to have a full-time fire chief and funded that line item. So unless, I mean, I guess I'd like to look at both sides of that, because I want to make sure that people are informed that we are not asking for an override. We're not raising the taxes to fund this position. We're using the growth factor of the town to move ahead with the town, so the town can be better run and hopefully more efficient. And it's an evolution of this town's growth. It's a factor into that. And to mislead people or scare them that this is going to add in the manner that the school override is going to add is just unconscionable. And I just feel like you cannot keep saying those two things in the same sentence. The school override will increase taxes. These other items that we voted at the town meeting with 200 people are just divisions of the pie. If we decide that we needed to have on staff some kind of fire coverage during the day, we would vote that at town meeting. We would not go to the ballot. We'd vote at a town meeting. So I just want to make sure that we're not getting scared or frightened of bringing things to town meeting and sending everything to the ballot so that nobody can tell us that we didn't do a great job. I mean, I feel like I pour myself into this job, and I would never try to shove this through or get it by people without giving them honest, clear information. And I'm comfortable with town meeting discussion. I think it's the most informed discussion that we ever have.
Okay, go ahead, Bill.
Denise, can you tell us, is a change in this order require a ballot vote?
It does not require it.
Okay, doesn't require it.
It does not require, it's special legislation that requires a town meeting vote, and then you petition the state legislation.
Okay, and to Ms. Cashionella's point, yeah, we trust 100 or so people every year to approve a $16, $17 million budget. This is small potatoes, and it's all completely speculative right now, what it will cost. We have not set a job description, we have not set a pay scale, we have not set anything, so to even suggest that it's gonna price people out of their homes is, I have to agree with Ms. Cashionellis, I think it's just more fair than anything else, because we don't know the answer to any of those questions. Anything else is just speculative.
Okay, go ahead, Ed.
Just a follow-up. At our last town election, we had a ballot question to decide whether the tree warden should be appointed or elected. And a tree warden with a very limited budget went to a ballot box vote, and I know it had to do that by procedure. So if something as important as a tree warden can go to a ballot box vote, then something important, changing the way town government works to go with town manager, I believe that should go to a ballot box vote. And as a case in point, we all mentioned about the survey that was done. And I brought up at the time, I wasn't crazy about the way the survey was done. It was sent to one person in the household. And as I brought up before, that those on the board that are married know that sometimes husbands have a different opinion than the wives do. And so if the husband fills it out, the wife may have a different opinion. So it was only sent to one person in the household. I think it went out with the tax bills. There was no possible way that another person in the household could get a copy of this, get the survey and fill it out, because only one person in the household did that. And I also think that when that survey went out, in addition to husband and wives having a difference of opinion, some of the younger voters in the family may have a difference of the way the town is spending money. So I didn't like the way the survey, it gave us a guideline, but it could have been done a little bit better. And I still think that this is important. The important way, the way we operate town government, it should go to a ballot box vote.
Okay, go ahead, Bill.
I don't even know what to say to that, so, go ahead.
In all fairness, if, what Ed, what you just said, if the people didn't feel like they had enough votes in the family, they only had one vote, when this subject ultimately gets put before the people, however, if it's the town meeting floor, or if it's the town meeting, I would hope those people would come out and vote. That's all I can say on that behalf.
Well, just as I stated before, there are, we've all been to the town meetings before, and there are some of our senior citizens that are unable to get to the town meeting. And you see the number of absentee ballots that are at a town election. And our population is getting older. They are, some of them are unable to get to the meeting, some of them don't want to stay out that late, and I don't think that they should be left out of this process, and they will be left out unless it goes to a vote at the ballot.
I will only say, and we're gonna move on from here, but I will say to what Ms. Castanella said, the more eyes on it, the better off we are. I definitely agree what you said. You definitely said, but we really need to talk about this, like, what a better place to have the people get informed on town meeting floor. I'm hoping that we inform everyone ahead of that time anyway, we get enough information out to them. But I personally, I just think the more people to vote on it, the better off we are. I mean, however the board decides to do it, but I just think to have the town, the complete town to vote on it, that's just me, I think it's the right way to go about it. But again, I'm sure we're gonna have plenty of time to talk about this in the future, and we can talk about, ironing out all the little, and dotting and crossing the i's and crossing the t's and all that good stuff, but.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Can we reach out and ask whether people really feel it needs to be on the ballot? The thing I worry about, this is what I worry about, and I'm just gonna throw it out there. Sometimes I put my foot in my mouth, but I'm gonna just say it. It seems like when we don't want something, we put it on the ballot and hope that it gets voted down because people don't understand at the ballot all the time whether something's gonna cost them money or not. And I'm not sure if we're allowed to put in the ballot that it's not gonna be raising taxes. I don't know what, the ballot's very limited in what you can
Right.
put on
I
it
agree.
and not on it. And
I
again,
agree.
as we change our town, which we've been doing right now, we have been changing this town at town meetings. And we've all abided by it, whether we agreed with it or not. We said, okay, town meeting has upheld, strong fire chief law came up, what, you brought up another time again, right? And people want it, so we leave it. And we don't throw things on the ballot. The town planner, we didn't throw it on the ballot. It was a brand-new job.
Right.
And there's 5 of us elected here representing 5 very different points of view. And I just don't know what kind of a precedent we're setting. That's my concern. I'm not afraid of the ballot,
Right.
one way or the other.
My whole
I'm
point-
concerned about whether or not we do it this way one day, and then
Right.
when something else comes up that we're
Right.
gonna add money to, we don't go to the ballot.
Right.
And then everyone goes, well, why didn't you go to the ballot for that? And
I think it's
I-
our,
I think
I like
state
to
law
follow-
actually dictates what we have to go to the ballot for and what we don't.
The law, yeah, well, that's why,
So the state
yeah.
law dictates that we don't have to go to the ballot, but put it to the ballot. I don't care if it goes to the
Kathy,
ballot. It can be a
I think
non-binding
in
ballot
the next
question.
so
We've
many
done that
months,
before.
it's our job as a 5-member board
Yes.
to educate these people, the town people, as much as we can, and get the word out there. I think a lot of times, personally, things go to the ballot, and it's not talked about, I swear to God, to confuse people, so they
Right.
vote on it. That's just me. I mean,
I know.
I go in there sometimes, I read them, like, what am I voting on? But anyway, go ahead, Bill.
Well, I kind of disagree with you, Bill, in the sense that I don't think it's our job to educate them. I think it's our job to present the value that this
Well, that's what I
position
mean
will
by
create.
educating.
And
And
I
let them
think I was
decide.
one of the first to say it. This is just a natural extension of the natural growth and evolution of any town. It becomes more complicated, becomes more complex, the more folks that move in. It's not a town of 100 people where everybody knows everybody and you can see everybody at one time in your backyard on a Sunday afternoon. Each growing day, the town is presented with more complex problems, more complex issues, and we need to be able to deal with them in an expeditious way and not make people wait and bring greater value to the town. And that's what I think this should be our main goal.
Right.
Not necessarily to educate the town folk, but to provide them a vehicle where we give them greater value for their tax dollar. That's, should be the goal of everything we do here.
Right.
Provide them with greater value for the same amount of money.
What's gonna happen, and we're gonna let it go after this comment, and not that I'm trying to be the winner of this, I'm not. You and
Yeah,
I-
you are.
You and I always, the point I'm trying to make is, and I'm right where you are, educating, we can't go to the town people and say, we're gonna have a town manager, we're gonna pay this kind of money. We do owe them what that dollar amount that you're trying to get to, what they're gonna get for their dollar.
Why
Okay?
they want this.
Why they should vote for that dollar amount is because they're gonna get the better services, they're gonna do this and that. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, why they should
We're-
demand
We're
it
both trying to
from
get to the
us.
same place, but you're saying it one way and I'm saying it more in a layman's turned way, because I'm not educated like
I
you.
think once we're done, they're gonna demand we move
All
this
right,
way.
so-
I think we
moving-
need to get information on this question, if we could, for
Right.
one of our future meetings, because I'd like to know how other towns did it,
Okay.
according to
had-
what laws, yeah.
Bill has a blueprint.
I had the whole blueprint, how West Newbury did it. I had the whole thing, how they went about it.
Okay. Well, that's one, there's lots of other towns
All
too,
right.
yeah.
Okay, so moving on, we have the update on the fire chief, I crossed out the last, I wrote through it. Fire
Update
chief
the fire
search,
chief.
search,
What did you
search,
just
search,
call
search. Fire chief search, go ahead.
So, we're very torn as a committee. The candidate that in the majority of our committee's opinion was a standout in the first round was not so in the second round, and vice versa. A candidate that we thought was quiet and timid in the first round was more of a standout in the second round. We have two candidates. One is highly educated, highly credentialed, not as much experience. Another candidate is highly experienced with no formal education and does not meet our basic minimum requirements, which is required to be an EMT.
Oh,
So the committee, I asked the committee as a whole, if I put both candidates before this board, would they, as the committee, be comfortable if you chose either of the two, and they could not come to a decision? I don't know how you want to proceed. One member of the committee said maybe we hire a professional interim for a period of 18 months to come in and look at the department. One other person recommended we start over. I don't know what we'd get for candidates if we start over. I told him I would bring it back to this board. Like I said, we actually sat here for 2 hours after the interviews and discussed it at length last Wednesday. And we all sort of left confused because it's not how we thought it was going to play out. And as I said, one candidate that I will say the majority of the committee favored lacks the minimum requirements. So I'm looking for your feedback and how you'd like to proceed. I can certainly bring them both before you, but again, I don't know that they're both qualified to come before you.
So my question would be, you just said that for the next 18 months, we could hire
A professional,
so where would you find a professional for the next, we've been here for almost 2 years, where could we find one?
well, we could go to all these consulting firms and have someone come in from a firm or someone that's a professional interim that does this.
So there's people out there that will go fill in.
Correct, you would not get someone full-time because they would not be able to do that if they're retired or something
So
like
then
that.
we can't get the job done.
we'll be back. What, you said one candidate that was favored lacked the minimum requirements. The other candidate, highly educated, highly credentialed, and what was the drawback?
So he does not have as much experience.
Not
And I'll
as
tell
much.
you, I mean, I'll be quite candid about the two candidates. So one of them, and I'm not going to tell you which is which as we go through. So one
Okay.
of them is from out of state. We would expect he would retire in the other state that he's in and come here, which some of us feel that he has nothing to lose if it's not working out. He could just quit and leave because he would have a pension.
Yeah,
The other one, we feel would use this as a stepping stone to get into the fire chief's
Yeah.
position and look to move into a larger community.
Okay, but, yeah,
That's the only drawback?
yeah.
But that, we're not gonna stop
We already
that.
discussed this at the last meeting, that people stay in
With the
positions
Right,
for
no,
3 or
I mean,
4
I'm not
years.
saying that, but so,
Right.
so, all right, quite candidly, so he's the one that is highly educated, has a master's degree, is a full-blown paramedic,
That's-
lacks the experience that the other one has.
Now, what kind of experience does he lack? Like,
So,
Number of years, you mean?
number of years, he's never been involved with the call department,
Okay,
and he is at an acting captain's
okay.
rank. The other candidate is a deputy chief of a combined call and part-time, full-time department, and has spent the majority of his career in call departments.
Could we write in as part of the requirement that if we were to hire the one that doesn't have EMT, be required to go and get EMT?
But I don't know what kind of timeline that is. We've been told anything from you can take an accelerated, 6-week course to, it depends,
I gotta
what-
think someone in that position has some really real-world experience in EMT, just not the certification.
But-
He's not Mass Fire Chief credentialed, the other candidate is.
But is the other state certified?
He's not certified in the other state either. So a lot of the skills obviously are transferable. The-
Trying here.
The firefighter 1, 2 is transferable, which they both have that. As I said, we really are torn as a group.
I mean, we've been running the department on the backs of our volunteers. And I know they've stepped up and they've given us a lot. And I think it's our turn to do something now about this job. I don't wanna drag it out. I think can you tell me which one interviewed better?
They both interviewed better on a specific day.
Oh, okay.
They were both standouts in the interviews.
On different
On the
days.
first day, we were all like, oh my God, this guy is a superstar. And then the second time, we did not feel that way, and vice versa.
Okay, so,
They were both clear frontrunners of their respective day that they interviewed.
you were there during the interview. Out of the two, which one would you say was more capable of running a department and being with, like, running men and being assertive to the point where he could run a department?
Well, I'd rather, I don't think that's my position. I think I can tell you what the chiefs had to say. I would
All
tell
right,
you,
then,
though.
what the chiefs had to say, sorry. I did-
No, I don't, I can't
Well,
tell
you
you
were
what the
there, I
chiefs.
just
Right.
meant to say you
Well,
were
because
there, I
again,
can't ask them, they're not here.
Well, it differed. Could they run the department? Each one, absolutely. They both had different levels of what I would consider supervision or supervisory presence.
okay.
Where one is much quieter, one is much more assertive, one is a former master sergeant in the United States Air Force, and obviously has a much more commanding presence than the other one. I think you're looking at apples and oranges. They're two completely different
so-
styles, demeanors,
Right.
attitudes.
So the one that was in the Army,
Air Force.
Air Force, sorry, whatever, I keep saying everything wrong tonight, but anyway, that person, give me a little bit, break down a little bit more for that one for me again. Sorry.
That's okay. No, I didn't want to get too specific, but I
Well, no,
will.
but I mean,
it's
just
fine.
give me an
So,
overlay.
so he's the one that has the master's degree, is fully credentialed as a full-blown paramedic, has less experience
In the field,
in the field,
okay?
and honestly, in the second interview, he rubbed some of us the wrong way. Whereas the other candidate, in the first interview, I thought it was like pulling teeth. He was out of there in 20 minutes because we couldn't get answers out of him. But in the second interview, he came back and was much more outgoing.
And he's out of state.
Go ahead, Ed.
He's out of state.
I don't see a problem with bringing both of them in,
Yeah.
interview before the Board of Selectmen. We could reject both candidates. We could choose one. When we brought in the highway superintendent, I think we had 3 people that came in, and we rejected them for various reasons, and put it out again, and then we interviewed 2, and chose 1. I'd bring them both in and have them be interviewed by the Board of Selectmen. They could, we may not like either one of them and want to put it out again. Or we may think one's a star and decide to choose them. And that's the way I would go. Bring them both in.
Back to Mike's point, the person that didn't have the EMT certification, would that person be willing to get it? And
Well, that would be something you would have to discuss in a negotiation, is if they're willing to get it and what type of timeline you'd put on that.
Right, so if we hire this new chief, are we, I know that he needs the credential, God forbid there's a call and he's the only one there.
You
But-
will be.
Right, so we need to have that credential.
Yeah, we really
So-
do.
That was a requirement.
Yes, it's a
You know, the
requirement.
education, we had any, experience or in place of that, but the EMT is a requirement.
Me listening to what you've said so far, the person that was in the service, I forgot which one it
Air
was,
Force.
service. You would think to be in the service and to do that just alone, that person must have some good self,
Organizational.
organization skills, working skills, people skills, et cetera, you would think.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know,
Why don't we interview them both then?
it's up to
I
the
don't
board.
see it, I don't mind spending that time. I'm okay with that.
I'm good with it. What's that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, so I think everyone's good with it, other than Bill, you good with it? Okay,
Would we get any kind of, report or something from the committee, or they just gonna go, here? Okay, if they don't want to, they've done a lot for us.
No, I mean, I have feedback, but
Okay.
like I said, when we left and I asked the committee if I put both before the candidates, if they would support either one, they would not give me a yes on that. So
Okay,
I don't know how it would work out.
okay.
so I think at this point in time,
It's
I
up to
mean,
us, maybe.
there's 5 of us, and we have 5 personalities, and that's all I can say. I don't know, it's up to you guys, you do what you want, but
No, I think you're right, Bill.
So do you want this at a regular meeting, or do you want, so that would be your next meeting, or do you want it on a separate night? How do you want to handle that?
I would, are you looking at me?
I am,
I had a thought, we've
if
been
we're-
meeting early because of the
Right.
building thing, wanna meet a little bit early and do it like as an early agenda?
I would say it depends on how many items are on that agenda.
Yeah,
So right now, on your next, so I want to clarify, your next meeting is a Tuesday, because Monday is the holiday.
okay.
So right now, we have meet with Rennie Carroll, the highway superintendent, to discuss his short-term goals, and for an update on his first 6 months on the job. I added an update on the cable contract renewal negotiations, and the town manager continued discussion is just a placeholder. So those are the only things I have on there at this time.
so, would you guys wanna do it in the beginning, or do you wanna do it after?
Begin.
Beginning.
How about like at
And
6?
don't put anything else on that agenda.
Right.
I'm
How
not
about
being,
do
I'm
like
not staying till
6
midnight.
o'clock, start like just a half hour.
Yeah.
early.
Start at 6 o'clock?
Yeah, so we can be fresh.
I'll certainly
Yeah,
invite
I'm
the
just
screening committee if they want to come
rolling
and
this whole thing
participate or
around
be
my
here for
mind.
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just don't know if
So
they
we'll
want.
scrap
Maybe
a,
it's a week from
we'll scrap a
Don't
town
like either
building
one of
site
them. What does that tell
for the
us?
next meeting.
Yeah, I don't have any lined up for the next meeting
Yeah.
Oh, I
anyways.
would,
Oh, you're gonna have one?
yeah, we'll put it off a
You-
couple
But
weeks.
each
Which we
had
don't
two.
mind,
Right.
yeah.
And they split.
I like
And after they
visiting with
came
them.
away, they didn't like either
You know
one of them.
something,
kinda.
everyone has a bad day, so.
Oh, yes. But
I'm having one right now.
I
they
am
each
too.
had 2 interviews, right?
Yes, correct.
And they came away split. They liked this guy, the first one, then not the second guy, and the second guy didn't like the first time, but they liked the second.
If we could combine them into one person, it would be fantastic.
Right,
Because they both have
I don't
stellar
think-
qualities, just not,
I
Okay,
don't think we're ever gonna find perfection.
no.
But I worry, I wonder that we commissioned a committee of alleged experts, right? To vet these people for us. And now, I wonder if, are we really any better than they are to, to vet these candidates when they're kinda wishy-washy themselves?
No, but if they're 50-50 on interviews, this would be
Right,
tiebreaker, basically.
right,
Yeah,
right.
tiebreaker.
You mean, you don't have to accept either one of them.
Yeah.
But
true
if
enough.
one of them comes in here and he passed one of the interviews, not the other one, I mean, I've had bad interviews too. I mean, I said it in the last meeting, I changed jobs on a whim, I don't care, right? But if you have a good interview and we have a unanimous or majority vote on somebody, then
It's their job to come in and to do what they need to do, and
Yes.
If they can't do it, then they can't do it, but I mean, it's their job to come in and shine or not shine, you know what I mean? At this point, like Mike said, at this point in time, we got the committee, they've done their work, they're at a split. We originally said we wanted one to come before us, we can't get one, so now we're bringing two, so, I think that, like, we may go out with zero. So, you know, so I think that's where we're at.
Okay.
And so the one that does not meet the minimum requirements you want to see.
Both of them, right?
I just want to clarify that, because that was where we sort of got stuck, is
Bring both in.
if he doesn't even meet the minimum requirements,
Yeah,
but
I
you
mean-
want to see
Now,
him.
when they come before us,
I
we'll have the
consider
piece
that
of
a-
paper in front of us showing all their requirements.
You'll have their resumes.
Right, perfect, okay.
Well,
I need to ask a question then. If one of the candidates doesn't meet the
Right, for
minimum
me, that's a
requirements,
deficit, yeah.
why are we meeting with them?
Because that doesn't mean to say that they can't get that
Right.
requirement.
Well,
Right.
If we,
in addition, if he doesn't meet the minimum requirements, how did he get this far in the interview process with our committee?
Because we had no one that met all the requirements, so we decided to
okay.
interview everybody.
So-
Oh, that
so
makes
hold on. So if he doesn't meet the minimum requirements, and we already have an interim chief in place, and if we end up loving this guy, let's just say, and we turn around and negotiate and say, listen, you got 3 months to get these minimum requirements, then we turn around and tell our interim chief, could you stay for 3 more months? Whatever, you know what I mean? I don't know, I mean, this is what we're up against right now.
I think that's pretty
Well, go ahead.
convoluted. I don't know how you do
That's not how you do it.
that.
If you, if the person doesn't meet the requirements, it's like, say, as an EMT, and you hire him and you give him 6 months to get that, or 9 months, whatever we choose, to get the certification that is we require, you hire him under those conditions. You don't hold off on his appointment until he gets that. You give him the job.
I
and then
didn't say that, I just said,
Yeah, you did.
what I was
said that
saying
you
is
could
we
keep
turn
the
around,
interim
we have
chief
the
on
guy.
until he gets it,
All right,
before
whatever.
you hire him.
I don't think I said I'm gonna hire him, not hire him. I just said that we turn around and we get the guy to get his
Yeah, give him, hire,
qualifications.
if he's the one you choose, you hire him, you
Okay.
give him a certain amount of time to meet the requirements, and one of the requirements might be to move within so many miles of the town of Groveland, and give him so much time to meet that requirement also.
Go ahead.
The minimum requirement that this one candidate does not have, do we know how long it will take that candidate to attain that minimum requirement?
Like I said, there are different courses you could take. One of them took a 6-week intensive course to get it, but that was sort of the exception.
Okay,
I think, let's meet him.
so, to Selectman Watson's point, if we gave this particular candidate 6 months, they would be able to achieve that goal within that timeline without undue restraint? Okay.
Yes, and I would say 6 months would have to be, because that's the probationary period. I would caution against giving 6 months to move closer to town, because obviously they're required to respond. I would say either by the start date or something, they need to have some type of arrangement that they're in the general, it was 30 minutes,
When-
30-minute driving time.
When they came into this interview process, and they didn't have the minimum requirements, right? Did anyone in the process say you don't have the minimum requirements? And that person, did they say back what their plan was or anything?
No, I mean, because we, at that point, didn't really want to get into too much detail about what they would do. You know, same thing about moving
But
into
did the
town
person
and,
say, I'm willing to work to get my,
well, they've both expressed extreme interest in whatever it takes to
Okay.
get this job.
That-
They're
right,
both very
that's-
interested in the
Okay,
position,
so
with
that's all I
both,
need
like
to
the
hear.
opportunity,
right, right,
both seem to want to do whatever it would take
perfect,
to do that.
all right.
So you're meeting at 6, is that what you decided, 6 o'clock on the 15th?
Yep.
And start the interviews at 6? That'll be the first business item?
Go with me?
Okay.
All right, all set with that?
Yep.
So, moving on, we have votes of the board, which I don't see any. And then we have finance director's time.
I have a whole bunch, Jan.
We got money.
say it again.
Again,
She didn't say anything yet.
Never bring my phone in.
So first off, I would like to express our thanks to Northeast Mass Mosquito Control, who sprayed the pines for us on Friday, September 20th. And Bill, to your question, Bill O'Neill, they were there exactly at 7 o'clock. the police had to kick the people out of the field, and they sprayed and were off the area in probably 7:10.
Just missed them.
So I'd like to thank them for coming out here and taking care of that. I'd like to thank the Highway Department employees, Bill, Mark, Steve, and Pete, for removing the Pines Playground in preparation for the new one to be installed. We're expecting delivery. Has actually got a call today about scheduling the equipment. They're hoping to be on site starting next week for installation. They expect installation to be about a month. So we're looking at the beginning of November for our new playground to be up and running. I can delete that because they scratched that tonight. Pumpkin Fest 2019 has been scheduled for Wednesday, October 23rd, from 5:30 to 7:30. We have put out a save the date. So this year, we've decided to add a best carved pumpkin contest in 2 different categories. Those for kids 12 and under, and then those for 13 and over. So we are hoping to get a lot more interest this year. We're hoping to get some creative pumpkins and really get things. It's our 5th year, so we're looking to really spice it up this year. Just to let the board know, last week I applied for a state grant for about $16,000, was awarded it to bring in new budgeting software, what will let us do a streamlined and transparent budget, allows departments to enter their requests online, and will allow for better forecasting of just future projections. Our health agent, Deb Ketchen, has tendered her resignation. Her last day here is next Thursday, October 10th. I would just like to wish her well and the best of luck in her new position and where she's headed.
Did we share her?
She is shared with Merrimack, although not technically. I mean, we didn't have an agreement with Merrimack. She just worked in both locations.
Okay. So-
And similar to the Board of Health, the public health nurse, she falls solely under the Board of Health for appointment. Does not come before this board.
Okay.
The town is conducting a study to help future economic development efforts in the Elm Square Business District. I'm sure you've seen the press release that came out. The work is being performed in collaboration with the Planning Department and the Elm Square Committee using a grant that Rebecca had received for the Mass Downtown Initiative. It is being conducted by an independent economic development research firm. Responses will be reported anonymously. So we ask people to take a few moments to answer the survey. It is available on our website and our Facebook page. It should take approximately 5 minutes to complete. For business owners and commercial property owners in Elm Square, they will be reached out through direct interaction. There's a separate survey for those folks. We would like to get everybody's feedback, those that live in town, work in town, access the downtown area. Any feedback that we get is welcomed and appreciated. And I think my last item, oh no, I have 2 more. I would like to recognize Ellen Petrillo, our town accountant, for having both the free cash documents and Schedule A into the state and certified by September 30th. This is the first time in 10-plus years that we had no issues and very few questions from the state. I can confidently say that every account on our books is fully reconciled. Everything is documented and fully accounted for. We know where everything is. It's all in the legal account and properly itemized. Out of the 351 communities, only 15 have been submitted and approved. So I just like to recognize her hard work and her dedication to her position here. And lastly, I spoke again with an attorney that represents the Billis property, wanted to come out and meet with the chairman and myself. After speaking with Bill, he wanted to defer to this board before we meet with anybody, if this board wants to engage in discussions with them on that property. They are ready to proceed with their development. I actually believe tomorrow they're going to run the water line across the street because of the road work, but they are still looking to see if we have an interest in purchasing the property. So I told Bill I'd bring it to the board here tonight to get your thoughts.
Anyone?
You asking me?
No, I'm just asking anyone.
I have absolutely no, no interest in buying that at all. My opinion. We own enough land already.
Agreed?
Okay.
No comment. I'm all set.
Okay. Kathy?
Okay, so, I know it's not popular right now to try and buy anything, but, if anything were ever purchased, it would go through CPA. However, that being said, I reached out to the town planner to find out, the status of that property, because it seems to have changed hands a lot, and the status of the development on that property. My main concern was, as a private citizen, when this first came forward, was simply because our cemetery, the property line, the cemetery buried people right up to the property line. I guess that's how I'm gonna say it. And so what happened in that initial plan that I did go to when I was not on this board, I was a citizen, was that they were trying to swing the road away from a stream, I think, and away from the river, and they swung it like right into, almost right into the cemetery. So there was kind of an agreement reached to preserve a buffer zone, a no-cut zone. However, because it's changed hands so many times, I find it concerning, because if this no-cut zone, it's not gonna be on town property, it's gonna be on the property that's within the development. So how are we going to monitor that? How are we going to enforce that? Can we do that? Will it work? I don't know, but our cemetery provides, I think, for many people, a nice sanctuary to go to when they suffer a loss. And my concern as a citizen, when I went before the planning board, this is like 2 owners ago, was simply that we preserve that. We preserve people's sanctuary in that cemetery, and we make sure that the development doesn't clear cut right up to the property line. So I didn't know if somehow you could use CPA funds just to buy that buffer zone, or whether you need to. I'm not a planning expert, but I wanted to share that with the board, my concerns and my feelings about that. And I did walk the line and saw where they were proposing the road to go, and it was literally right on top of some of the current grave sites that are there. And I just felt like that we should do what we can to advocate for preservation of that kind of treed-in look and the sanctuary that our cemetery does provide to people.
I would believe that that project must have already been put through.
No, go ahead.
It must have been put through already, the road, and it's the planning board that would say there's a no-cut zone and et cetera, et cetera. So at that point in time, the planning board should have say in it.
Yes, so to add on to that, so I don't know if you saw Rebecca's response to you.
did.
Okay.
That's
So
there,
the
yeah.
no-cut zone is a condition written into the MOD. So if they sell that land and they're sticking with that development, that no-cut zone stays with that proposal. The use restrictions are specified, a conservation easement is a permanent prohibition on certain activities. These restrictions are specified in the easement deed. They run with the land in perpetuity and are legally enforceable against all future landowners by the easement holder. An easement holder may be a municipality with a legal duty to monitor and enforce. So that's the no-cut easement that she's referring to. Some easement violations are more serious than others, so enforcement can range from a simple letter to a plan to mitigate or enforcement action in court. So there is a no-cut zone, and it would be put into an easement along the rear property lines of lots 1 and 2, and a 15-foot no-cut easement along the western side property line adjacent to the cemetery of lot 3. So that's what Rebecca had
Okay.
reported back.
Okay, so maybe what you just said a few minutes ago, someone said that, I seen them moving in equipment there, maybe because they're getting ready to bring the pipe across the road, but, I don't know, like I had talked to Ms. Castellalis, we had written a letter on behalf, asking for the cemetery and the water to let us know if they have interest. We didn't hear back, but I said to her, maybe you could make that call yourself and see if they're interested in it or whatever. But until we know what the dollar amount is, I mean, it's a process. It's gonna be a year out for CPC money or whatever. Is the developer even willing to wait that long? I mean, I know if it's CPC money or whatever, I still don't think, if we have a no-cut zone there, I would rather not buy land just to, you know what I mean, I'd rather leave the no-cut zone there than to buy
Right,
land.
well, I
myself.
think the developer probably feels like he'd rather not have to own the no-cut zone, but
Right.
that is built in, and so my only thought was just, we're gonna be responsible to enforce this.
Yeah, well, the planning board,
Counties, that's
the
gonna be
planning
ours.
board will put in a covenants, and they'll put in these concrete berms that say right on the top of the berm that it's a no-cut zone. They do it, all the new developments,
Oh, they do,
they're a
okay.
granite post, and on the top of them, Mike, you've probably seen them, they have the green little signs on them, and it says it's a no-cut zone. I'm sorry, conservation, whatever it is, but they're out there.
Right,
So if there's an easement and all that stuff, that it should be written in there, but go ahead, Ed.
In addition to a no-cut zone, and probably too late in the process, but I think there should be a fence along the, as a part of the buffer zone between the cemetery property and the old Billis property. Whether it be a post and rail fence, or just something to define that. That area drops off pretty good on the bank in there, and I think there should be a fence along there. I don't know if it's too late in the process, but some kind of a fence.
So I do believe it's too late to put that in the decision. After, I know they discussed that at length years ago when this project started. I'd advised the cemetery commissioners to put in a CPA request under the historic classification to put a fence through I mean, the cemetery is historic, we have historic parts of it. I don't know if they'll do that, but I think that's something that could be done to put even a higher privacy fence that would give that buffer between the development and the cemetery.
but that would be on the cemetery, that's not gonna show the no-cut zone, it's just gonna show this is where the cemetery ends. That would be that's being paid through.
Right, because we
cemetery.
wouldn't be putting a fence on the no-cut zone, because then we're not developing that area
Right.
for the
we can't
cemetery,
put
so
any-
we'd want to
Well, I didn't
delineate
know if
that.
that's what Ed was saying, a fence to show where the no-cut zone.
No,
is.
it's just a fence dividing the cemetery
Oh,
property
yeah,
and
no,
the
they're
village
planning to
property.
do that, I mean, that's in
Discuss
the
using
works,
it.
I think, as far as I know.
All right, so,
So
anything
what
else?
would you like me to tell the attorney? As a board, what would you like me to tell the attorney?
I'm not interested in buying it just for a strip of land when we know it's a no-cut zone there. I would like to go to the planning board and make sure that the no-cut zone is enforced. So, you know, there's gotta be a way they can enforce that,
Right, like I
Nope.
said, it will be in the decision, it will be
Right.
filed with the deed.
right,
If
okay.
they'd like to donate the no-cut zone, I'll accept that.
How wide is that, any idea?
Like no-cut
20
zone,
feet.
20 feet along property lines of lot 1 and 2, and 15 feet along the western side of so 15 feet between the cemetery and the
It's too late,
lot.
I'm sure, on the decision, but I wonder if the developer, whoever ends up with it, the planning board could say, could you put some greens in there, some evergreen?
That's in the decision, to put that in.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
all right, good.
Do we need a motion?
No,
She just needs to be able to
I
go
just
back.
need to be able to give them, so I mean, a majority of you had said you're not, so as long as
Right.
we maintain the no-cut zone, as long as that's enforced, we don't have an
And we
interest in
have the
purchasing.
cemetery commission, if something's not being done right up there, they can let us know, and we can,
Yep.
if they need our help, we'll help enforce it.
Well, and Rebecca will stay on top of that, so, okay, so
Okay.
thank you.
All right, so moving on, are you all set?
Yes.
Okay, so moving on, we have selectmen's time and report, start with Mike.
Yes, you had asked me to check in with the state about Washington Street.
Mhm.
And the response I got was, you're gonna love this. The EPA attorney assigned to that case has retired. And the contact over there is determining whether another attorney has or will be assigned, and that was 2 weeks ago.
And nothing from the senator?
That was the senator's office. Yeah. So, I'll reach out to them again this week, and,
Well, I would say, let them know the roof has collapsed.
we've said that every meeting.
Yep.
So, I'll see if they have someone assigned from the EPA to at least start looking at the old stuff that we've gone over and
Right.
that's
pick
it.
it up
Neighbor-
again.
It's really dropping the neighbor's property values,
Oh, I know.
and it's not a very nice piece of property, and God forbid, who knows what's inside it. As far as you and I heard in the meeting, that they didn't really know what was inside that building, so if there's water leaking in there, and there's rain leaking in there, and stuff is going back out in the ground, who
Yep.
knows, you know what I mean? Okay,
How
well, thank
much
you for doing
does
that.
Moving at the
property
speed
owe
of
us?
government.
How much back taxes does that property owner owe us?
40 something.
No, it was a lot more than that.
I'd like to know that number.
Yeah, I had given it to the board before, I'll have to look it up. It's a lot, because haven't paid in 30 years, and we haven't taken it because we don't want to own that lien, and we don't want to own the cleanup
Well, we're gonna end
efforts.
up with it one way or the other, aren't we? Because, I mean, you can't let this thing just collapse beside people's homes and hope that it'll be okay. That's irresponsible on our part. We gotta do
we-
something.
Right, but if we take that property and there's still
Contaminants.
contaminants, we own
We
that.
own it.
Toxins,
own
then
any
it becomes a
future
super
cleanups.
fund. Guess
Okay.
who owns it?
Okay, but I'd like to know from our town attorney whether they have a recommendation, because you have this thing, it's caving in, it's dangerous. It's not just an eyesore, it's dangerous. This property owner owes us thousands of dollars, and we're getting nowhere with it.
No, we're not getting nowhere. I mean, Sam has that authority. He reached out when the windows were open, they came right out and boarded them. Our town attorney's gonna say the same
The
thing.
roof is caving in and they
But the
boarded the
roof is,
windows.
no, because the roof, it's caving inward. The walls are sturdy.
Oh,
As the
goody.
building inspector, he has said the walls are sturdy. It's imploding, if you will, inward. It's not gonna fall outward against the cars or the vehicles or the people. It's private property. We can't enter that property. The state can't enter that property. Sam can't enter that property. But he's determined the walls are sturdy. It's not gonna fall
We have,
out.
Kathy, we have written the owner a letter, we've submitted letters, and the owner doesn't even care to come to a meeting. We set up and asked him to come to a meeting, he wouldn't come to the meeting. So the owner's just putting his hands up to us.
But somebody has to take responsibility for this building, so you're thinking
No,
the
they
state is gonna take this off our hands?
No,
I think-
they won't either.
They won't either, so
No, as it becomes, I mean, if it's a safety risk, then they will address it. Sam has that authority, and they have come out. But again, it's not a risk right now because it's inward.
well, I'll just go on record, I think it's a risk to letting that sit there, that if anybody gets anywhere near that, kids or otherwise, it's a very dangerous building.
Right.
How
It's
about,
dangerous.
how about if we see if the building inspector has a drone, that he can go over there and take some pictures of that? I don't know how close he can get to, just so that we have an idea.
He does not have one.
He doesn't, well, maybe he can, maybe he knows somebody's going.
They have, am I correct, they flew a drone in there? Didn't they say during
No,
our
I think they
meeting?
went around the exterior. That was our conversation,
the
with
EPA
maybe
people?
going in there with a drone, because nobody's been in that building in
Right.
decades.
They were gonna go in with a drone.
That was what they were gonna look into, but
To
apparently
see. Okay.
the attorney retired and
Right.
moved it forward.
Property owner owns other property, lives somewhere.
It was in Western Mass or something.
Yes, the
Can we
mailing
do-
address is,
Well, can we do anything to interfere with the other property? I mean, he owes us over $40,000 or something, you're saying right now, right? Is that it?
It's quite a bit.
it's
quite a
over
bit.
hundreds of thousands of dollars that he owes us.
I don't know why we're not doing something more about this.
We've been
Because
working
again,
on this for years.
We've been working, and then if we take it over, we owe the state the liens that the state has, we owe the liens that the EPA has. We sat in meetings, they would not agree to waive that. They said they may entertain some discussion on it, but we would own all of the
And that's the
expenses.
last that we've had, entertained some discussion
They would
on it.
entertain, but they can't make any guarantees that they would waive any of the liens that all these other federal and state agencies
Okay.
have on that
Can
property.
we just ask our town attorney if there's anything we can do to get some kind of money or something
We've done
from this
that.
individual? Just something to help us have money to move towards cleaning up this disaster.
We've done all that.
For years.
Can I see those letters?
I
I'd
don't
like
know
to
when
see
that
the
was.
opinions, that's all.
A year ago?
Well, it's
Started
up to
at
the
least a
chair
year.
or this board if I'm gonna reach out to the town attorney.
Okay, if you've already done it, I'm satisfied to see what you've asked and what was been answered. I'm just,
The problem is there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of different agencies and a lot of
I-
people have, no, a lot of people have stakes in this, and what we don't want is the town to take this on and then be responsible for everything. That's what
Okay.
we're trying to avoid, so that's why we're treading lightly as we go through this process, working with the state, Senator Tarr's office, the EPA, state attorneys, town attorneys, owners. I mean, there's a lot of people that have some kind of hand in this pot, and the last thing we want to do is just take it on, find out that there's still contaminants in there, and then we're responsible for it.
So Kathy, so not to sit here all night, but to try and
I
bring up
know.
to speed, no, let me just try to bring you up to speed real quick. So Mike and I went to the EPA in Wilmington, we sat in a meeting, and basically Senator Tar was there and a bunch of dignitaries were there. short and long of it is, he has people that will go out and actually purchase property. They're into, what is it, like,
Angel something.
yeah, they're like, they buy housing, and he was gonna try and put those people in touch to get that property. But now what Mike is saying, the attorney for the EPA has now retired, so now it sounds like the process is starting all over. So the wheels are turning, but what would happen is, in the short and long of it, is the Senator Tar would negotiate with the EPA to lift the liens, but the developer would take the project on to try and develop it through the state. And we don't want any ownership. If we take ownership of that, and let's say some neighbors in that neighborhood take and get sick on it or something like that, it's on the town. Or
So you
if we,
think a
if we,
developer's gonna take that on?
the state works with these people, that's all they specialize in, is taking over these properties. That's what the state works with, there's companies that specialize in it. But,
My
Any-
concern is it's a dangerous structure.
No, I
and
got
you-
ya.
And you just, whatever
Go ahead,
happens in there, it's dangerous.
Through the chair, maybe we could ask the fire chief if that building's been red X'd yet.
I'm in the process of getting those red X's.
Okay.
Oh.
I know the building inspector.
Can you go to the microphone, please?
So I spoke to the building inspector about that a couple of times. We are gonna red X the building. I've looked into the size requirements for those red X's, because there's a regulation for everything. But we are gonna red X that. I'm hoping to do it in the next couple of weeks. No, the building inspector did that, no, he applied with it. He was able to gain access through the front door at the time. I know there's black mold in that building, because we were informed of that as neighbors. Back when they accessed the Center Street end to drill all the wells, they actually drilled wells in that building to mitigate the degreaser, I guess it was, that got lost, that caused all this problem. They had to go in there with big masks, Tyvek suits and everything else because of that mold. I used to watch them out there for a year and a half. So, yeah, there's black mold in there. What else is in that building? I don't know. I don't see the coyotes in the yard I used to see, because I used to see them all the time, because they did wall up all the doors in the back after they got done with the wells. But, it's just getting overgrown in there, so I don't have no idea. But the roof is collapsing, you can see that from the street.
Yeah,
A good snow load, that's probably gonna domino.
okay.
Probably, which in the end would make it safer. Hopefully the kids don't get in there. Yeah, we're gonna red X the sides of that building.
okay, thank you.
So that's it.
Okay, is that it for selectmen's?
Yep.
Okay, Bill?
Yes, first of all, regarding free cash, I think that's, not only a great thing for our town treasurer, is that it? But it's also a direct reflection on her immediate supervisors, which is you. These, again, extraordinary results from you, so you should be, also acknowledged for having free cash, what would you say, approved, authorized, whatever it is.
Certified.
15, so that's a great, great for you. I had my first meeting with the rec committee last Tuesday. It was interesting. I'll reserve comment after that. I want to thank the police for opening up the bathrooms earlier on Saturday to accommodate the girls' softball. Thank you very much for doing that for the girls. It was a huge, huge help to them. I want to acknowledge the field crew from the high school, who does have some access equipment and manpower due to the non-use of the fields over there, and who graciously came down and donated a few hours of their time to rehab the infield of the girls' softball team. That was very nice of them. We appreciate that. And they hope to reward you in a few years with some nice state titles. And then the next thing I'd like to get on the agenda sometime as soon as possible is the discussion of the dismantling of the dog park behind the softball field. It is atrocious, and if you have young girls and if they've ever played softball in that field on a warm day in the summer, it is horrendous, the stink. The dog fights are terrifying, some of these kids, if they have dog fights in these parks. It needs to be moved. There shouldn't be dogs down there. Most of them, from what I understand, come from over the other side of the bridge in Haverhill. They're not Groveland residents. They're non-residents because it's very convenient for them. That would eliminate a lot of the police having to monitor the area. If there's no dog park there, there's no reason for dogs to go down there. But I think the time has come where that should be moved and make it more of a park and a ball field than it is a toilet. So if we get that on there soon, Mr. Chair, I would appreciate it.
That it?
Yes, I think that's it. Thank you very much for your
Okay.
time.
Well, I'll take care of that. So I'm gonna keep it simple because it's getting late. So we have 2 more signs coming. I talked to you today about, I'll pick them up in the morning. So 2 more signs going down there. The Tea Garden was one of them, and the other one was the
Police Association.
Police Association, right. So that's, we'll be getting those up. I gotta move a couple other ones. And the other thing I'd like to say is the town of Groveland roads, I see the highway out there doing quite a bit of hot topping. It's nice to see. I know last year a lot didn't get done because our money went toward the 97 project, but it's definitely nice to see some of the roads getting, I did get a lot of comments from people saying it's nice to see the hot top going down. So that, I'll keep it simple and I'll move on to Ed.
I met, I think it was this past Thursday, the CPA committee, and we went over the application process for new application, new projects, and at the start of it was a lengthy discussion or presentation on housing. And so those applications will be available for new projects, and the committee will meet and go over them. That's all I got.
All right, Kathy?
I just would like to suggest that we send a letter to the town accountant congratulating her for getting this free cash certification in such a timely manner. It makes a huge difference to our budget process, which I know from having been on the finance board. Often we're sitting there, and Bill would remember this too, where we're often sitting on the finance committee into February, sometimes, waiting for free cash certification to know if there was going to be funds available for capital needs. And this is, if we can keep this pattern and keep getting our free cash certification, I think she's really an asset to our town. And I think we should recognize that when people step up like that into a new job and do such a good job right away like that. It's fantastic.
Starts at the top.
Yep, but I think let's recognize Ellen perhaps this time.
Absolutely,
And give her a
absolutely.
ladder.
No doubt about it.
An attaboy or whatever. I mean, it's a hard job. And there's many reasons why it wasn't filed on time other years, and
There wasn't.
I know, but I mean, now that everything's coming together well, the management is handling it well, and the people that are in these key positions are responding well, and it's good to see a great financial team here at Groveland, because we've been due for that, and I'm pretty thrilled about it. Other than that, I was gonna say, I saw in your policies, to let you know if I'm planning to go to meetings. I did go to one meeting on the 40B, that apartment thing, and I saw things that gave me great concern, heard things that gave me great concern. So I am going to try and attend some of those meetings moving forward.
There's one Wednesday.
I thought it was on the 10th. This
No, I
Wednesday?
think it's the
It's
second.
this Wednesday.
Oh,
It's
this
their
Wednesday,
focus
I
is
can't-
traffic.
Yeah,
The
I'm going to
traffic
that
I
one.
may not make that one. I didn't realize
I'll
it
go to
was
that
this.
one.
Okay, I'll try for the next. Do they meet just once a month? Is that it?
Yeah.
Sometimes two, but right now they're meeting, they'll set their agenda for their next meeting on Wednesday.
Okay, but we can still give input to it, because I did want to give some input based on what I heard that night. I can give Rebecca input? Okay. And do I just copy this board? I don't want you to think I'm running around doing stuff, crazy like.
So you should copy me and I can add it as
Okay.
correspondence.
Thank you. Okay.
Is that it?
Yes, that's all.
Okay,
Bill, can I add one quick thing?
sure.
I'm sorry, you were talking about the paving. I do want to just caution residents, so Mass DOT, as you know, is doing the 113 project. There are going to be detours. We had a lot of confusion this morning. There was a headache out there this morning with the detours and where they decided to close the roads. Tomorrow is expected to start around Manor Drive and go around the fairways. So it's going to impact the town hall complex, the municipal complex. They are out there working 7 to 4. We have posted a notice on Facebook and Twitter, but just plan for extra time if you're trying to get here. They will keep the traffic open heading towards Pentucket. So as the school day is going on, traffic will flow, I don't know, what's that?
Eastbound.
East. So traffic will flow east and the westbound traffic will be detoured. And then at the end of the day, they're hoping to be done as school gets out, or they'll change that to allow traffic away from Pentucket. But there will be detours over the next week to 2 weeks as they're finishing up this project. Please bear with them. Their schedule is subject to change. We actually didn't know. They had to get more detail officers this morning because of the chaos out here. So that is ongoing and will continue for another week or so.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, starting with old or unfinished business, start with Kathy.
I think I'm good for tonight. We got
Okay.
a long
Ed?
meeting.
I don't have anything.
I'm good. Bill?
I'll pass, thank you.
Mike?
Pass.
We have to
Okay.
vote one thing, right?
So,
Because-
other items not responsibly,
Reasonably
reasonably
anticipated.
anticipated at this time of posting, to appointment of Bob Sinabaldi, Merrimack Building Inspector, as an alternate building inspector through June 30th, 2020.
So moved.
Okay?
Second, whatever. Alternate, right? That's fine.
Any further discussion?
Reason being?
So our current alternate inspector is suffering from a major medical illness.
No.
So I will say, Sam had requested that the position just be appointed until the other alternates return. I put June 30th because we could certainly have more than one alternate, and that way we
Oh.
don't have to worry about when that time period comes up.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay? All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. And then we already did that, so now we have adjournment.
Motion to adjourn at 9:36.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes, thanks.